YouTube membership. Listen, it helps the channel. Sure, I could pretend that some company's pre-built PC is awesome, even if it just accidentally happens to be that I got it from them in the last 3 weeks. You don't want that. I could also open up an OnlyFans, which just me naked eating Uncrustables and rubbing my beard against the mic. No one wants that either, because it'd be terrifying. For $5, you can become a YouTube member. I'd probably save you that by warning you away from Alakine's gun, or maybe Gene Rain, or maybe you watch the reviews. I don't know why, because they suck, but maybe you do. If you join now, we don't have to worry about those things. You also get access to the Patreon when it comes to the Discord. So become a YouTube member now, before I start having to put surprise oral sex-looking thumbnails on my reviews. And trust me, no one else wants that. So power up with ACG. Besides, it's for sure better than those POS earbuds YouTubers try to sell you. Why should you join?
What's up, everybody? This is KARAK with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast number 444.
Let's go.
Yeah, we decided to do
back.
a good podcast, so we didn't invite Silver and Abzy. So it'll just be... Oh, he said it. No, I'm just joking. Abzy had a friend, yes, a real-life friend that he had, who has a birthday, and Silver wasn't feeling well. So we decided we would still do it, jump in here, talk about games, talk about layoffs, unfortunately, talk about what games Johnny's been streaming and playing and beating. Johnny's been doing a lot of different games. Me, been doing absolutely nothing. Been relaxing, took a huge vacation, did absolutely nothing during it. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to jump in and do something awesome. Talk about the podcast.
Well, you say you're doing nothing, but you're like dodging natural disasters and everything. Like,
we're good. We're good. Thank you, everybody, for rejoining us. I'm sure there probably won't be a ton of people in this. I didn't really announce we were going live because I wasn't 100% sure we were going to. I mean, I knew Johnny was coming and I was coming, but you never quite know if something is technically going to go awry. So if you get a chance, tweet out that we're doing it. If you see me looking around for stuff, it's just because I'm verifying everything is set up before we really jump in. And I think it is, hopefully. I just decided to wait 5 seconds to see if fate was going to come and smash me again. So what have you been playing, Johnny?
No, let's flip the tables. What have you been playing? Start with you today.
Nothing. Yeah, I got code for The Last of Us remake.
Yeah.
And was playing it, and then the power issues happened for 10 days, so didn't have that. I had to contact them and be like, yeah, not covering that. Don't have internet. So I was going to play that, didn't get a chance, played a little bit of Infinite Wealth. I bought it, didn't get a code for that one, which was a little odd because Sega's usually very open with that, but they were a little cagey on this one. Not in a bad way, just that's the way life goes. And then what else? I did not a lot, but I did some mobile games. I played that one Space Traders game I like so much on mobile. Because I had a tablet, luckily enough. It's hard to concentrate when it's not a vacation on purpose, though. I got to admit. I tried.
And you did Enshrouded as well, right?
I did Enshrouded, yeah. That was the one where, luckily, a friend had a generator, so I got to play a little bit of that using his power, then the power came back on.
It's full on, like, Last of Us stuff.
Yeah.
You're, like, pulling the generator.
It was 3 a.m. on the 9th day of no power, and I stood out on my deck and just yelled, "Turn the fucking power back on!" Didn't work, but I was hoping it would. So I did Enshrouded, which we'll talk about, which was mighty enjoyable. Had some issues with it, but overall it was a fun game to do a preview for. I usually don't do early access stuff, but I figured there were so many other issues I needed to do something because it was a very costly power outage. And I do like doing early access for impressions. But certainly, I saw some people reviewing it, and I'm like, fuck off, man. You're like, come on, man. You can't review an early access title. I mean, sorry, there's not even, half of the shit's missing. But yeah, it was fun to play it. That's pretty much it. I was playing real life, man. Dodging bullets. Yeah. Burying pets, unfortunately. We had a lot of pets die because of the cold. Yeah, that sucked. And trying to work off 7 pounds of weight gain from Top Ramen only meals for 4 days, which I haven't. You can still see. It was ridiculous, man. The amount of sodium in Top Ramen. Still no regrets,
I bet, because I bet because those are good.
Those are good, but I will tell you that it destroyed my desire for Pop-Tarts ever again. The power outage.
Wow.
did.
And that's a big statement because
They're done.
I mean you're
They're on Seafood's list. So there's seafood and Pop-Tarts. I don't think I'll
and
ever
everybody
eat one
here
again.
knows your stance about seafood. It's pretty much like
Yeah.
never touch. Like
I had so many. I looked at a Pop-Tart 5 or 6 days ago, and I was like,
yeah.
nope, I'm done. Had too many of them. But such is life. That's my sob story. Whatever. What about you? What are you playing?
So I played through Nier Automata. I was doing getting all the endings and stuff. I was telling you before we started, they have this really neat thing in the end where you throw away your save, and you do that to save another player. So like towards the end of in the end of the game, there's like an endless type of bullet hell section where like most, you're just getting wrecked, and you're like given the option, or do you want to give up? And eventually you can get help from someone. And the way you get help is that that person sacrificed their save to save you.
It's a great idea.
It's a really unique thing. And then in the end, when I beat it, I also got the option to sacrifice my save to then help someone else. And I'll always remember being saved by, I think it was like Milky Chipotle, 69. It was just like some ridiculous name. And that's how it's not like a fake NPC made up thing, because it's like it sounds like something an idiot human would call themselves.
Forever Beaver Lover,
which is great. Yeah, Beaver 69. And I also finished Yakuza Gaiden. I struggle with the title because it's so long. The man who erased his name, like a dragon. It keeps going.
Yeah.
But it was a very good game. It was my first like full Yakuza game. I did play Judgment, but this is like my first game that I beat in the mainline series after catching up with all the story and stuff. So it was a really cool experience.
When you look at, now bear with you, I'm judging you, but when you compare Lost Judgment and Yakuza, which do you like better?
Well, I didn't play Lost Judgment or the second one. I played just Judgment. First one. I liked the story more in Judgment because I thought it was quite grounded. It was uninteresting, I don't know, the lawyer stuff was pretty well done. I thought it was like an interesting plot to follow. And this one, it was kind of more like a goofy soap opera, Japanese soap opera thing.
Yeah.
That it was fun in its own way, and some epic battles there, but I wasn't invested to the same level, I would say.
Gotcha. Anybody in chat? Lost Judgment versus Yakuza. Which do you like better?
Where do you put them? I guess how do you
Judgment
view those?
By far.
You like that?
Here's why. It still has some crazy bits of the Yakuza series, but it's more grounded. And I like that character, and it just worked for me. And I love Yakuza games. There's some great ones, but that Judgment and Lost Judgment are just two fine examples of games coming very close to what I like without going too far. Yakuza can get nuts. There's times where you're playing Yakuza, and when you have too much, when you have too many nuts, but when it goes too far, too many titles, it numbs you a little bit. It's like watching a horror movie. If you see too much dismemberment or whatever, after a while, if you know it's not real, your brain can get a little numb. Judgment was like just the right amount of crazy,
Yeah, and there is a point where it's too many chads. That's how I describe it. That's kind of the feeling I kept getting in this game, which is there's always more dudes coming out, and it's always, it's too many chads because you kind of get desensitized. Whereas Judgment, it was like every person counted a bit more, and it was a bit more focused, I think.
Yeah, I like that a ton. Did you stream Yakuza?
No.
So it was just you hanging out.
time.
Yeah, you time. Very cool,
Yeah.
man. Dude, I'm telling you, there's something. I got to go let the dog out in a second, so keep talking. I'm still listening.
Okay.
But I did want to say, dude, there's something, streaming is great, and I know you like it, but there's some games, or maybe it's just a game at a random time, there's something about you time, you know, where you're just like, dude, this is for me. It's not for anybody else. I'm not going to be looking at a screen. I'm not going to be doing anything else. I'm not saying people lose the ability to pay attention or anything like that, but you know, there's something about that me time. Are you thinking of doing Infinite Wealth online though? That being said,
no, I think that will also be something I do on my own time. Also, I've really enjoyed playing it on the Steam Deck. It ran really well. I'm hoping the new one also runs well there. But I spent quite a bit of time just doing side missions and doing some of the Coliseum stuff on my Steam Deck while listening to the TV and stuff like that, and just hanging back and chilling. I think that these games, it's a little difficult to stream as well, because for one, they have very long cutscenes, but then on the other side as well, they have so much side stuff that is not always the most interesting. You kind of tend to, get lost in it and not talk too much. So I think it'd just be like some really quiet streams. Or you would skip a lot of stuff that otherwise you would like to enjoy, like maybe just play a game of pool and not, having to feel like you need to talk over it.
I will say Infinite Wealth, I don't know if this is true, but there's something about Infinite Wealth that looks better. I asked Reg, he was playing it, and I was like, hey, do you want to jump in chat and stream that? Because I wasn't feeling very well, and I didn't want to play anything, but I wanted to enjoy some games. So we were doing some multi-streaming. And he was streaming Infinite Wealth, and man, I don't know if it's just me. Reg is pushing a lot of power, right? That dude's got like a Cray supercomputer for a PC. He's like me. He's got a ton of, he's got sort of the high-end stuff, even though he's not a reviewer. It looks better. I don't know what I still need to figure out why, but Infinite Wealth, not even the new location. We're talking the old location. Then he got to the new city. It looks really good. Something about it, man. I don't know.
The city itself, or what?
It was just, I swear to God, dude, it looked like the fidelity looked better. I don't know any other way to describe it. And it could just be me. It could be that it's been a while. It could be that the last one. So I did The Man Who Forgot His Name. Then I played a little bit of the one that was in the past again. So, and that one wasn't the greatest looking. So it could have been that I was just comparing. Anybody in chat, am I wrong on that? Does it look identical? Because it probably looks identical. I guess I just thought. For a second it wasn't. It looks like, for the most part, sorry if I'm breathless here, I'm not having a heart attack. I do have a serious case of COVID though, and it's starting to cause me to get a little breathy. Let's see here. I was asking about it. It looks like a lot of people. Judgment. All right, you guys are good people. You can stay in chat. Yeah, look at that. Right. I don't know anybody in chat if I'm wrong and maybe it looks the same or whatever. I was just really impressed with it.
What I did find that the city didn't look as good as the character models I thought in, the Man Who Erased His Name, the one I just finished now.
Ah, okay.
Thought like the city, when you look around, there's quite a bit of low res stuff, even though it comes well together. Like, if you're just looking in the periphery, but if you sort of stop and look, there's quite a lot of low texture stuff going on. But the character models I really enjoyed. Yeah, when they go in a cutscene and you see like a close shot of the people, you have like the pores in the face and everything.
Especially if it's not fucking the NPC level 3 guy who shows up to give you a pair of glasses and he's just like, nah, he looks all mowed over. Reading some super chats here real quick. Let's see. Great to see you guys. Spetsu, PLN, $12 super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. MK Bandit, $20. Welcome back. Hope you're feeling better. Question for Johnny. What's your opinion on the new season of League so far? I personally feel the ultimate haste on Malignance needs to get removed. Also, RIP, Forge, and Runeterra. That was like casting a spell because I know 3 of those words.
Yeah, I would say overall. So every year there's a new season for League, and there's a bunch of changes. This season they've printed a lot of new items, which is very exciting for the League community. New items is not that common, especially this many. So that's really cool. It's been really cool. I think it's shaken up things quite a lot, and this is part of why I believe the game is still
going,
so popular,
right.
Still going. It's a little bit like Fortnite and how we say, although they're kind of next level, you know, like they always have new stuff and they do dynamic stuff in game. League is pretty good with shaking up the balance of the game and like, you know, items and new champions and stuff to just like keep it fresh. So yeah, it's pretty cool overall.
What's up, Javier? Yeah, dude, it's so weird to me because whenever you say League, my brain goes to Dota, then it goes to another one, then it goes to another one, then I'm like, oh, League, I get it, that one. Because you're right there, and not saying those aren't still popular, but it is pretty crazy how popular some of the big ones are and how many have gone. You know, how many have come and gone.
Yeah.
It's a graveyard of those titles that have come and gone. There's like the three stalwarts, you know, the guys who were just like, come at me, bitch.
Dude, I mean, to give you an idea, right? This is the 14th year of League. So it's old. 14.
Really?
And
wow.
Yeah. And it's still like the second highest category on Twitch, just to use one comparison point, you know. So it is still really popular.
I don't think I'll ever play it again, other than the one or two times I have, but it's obviously that zeitgeist.
We'll make a League player out of you yet. No, probably not.
It's one of those ones that I hear. I think Abzy plays it, right? Isn't that the one Abzy plays as well?
Yeah, it is.
I just don't want to speak out of turn and find out it's the other one. But yeah, man, I see people play it, it's anarchy, but it's digestible anarchy. But for whatever reason, it doesn't speak to me. But those people it speaks to, I mean, you can say this about any game, but I don't think it's the same level, man. There's like, you know, League fans where you're like, damn, this dude's for sure wearing underwear with a League character on it, you know.
Yeah, it's almost like a chemical dependency. You get a hit from playing.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. It's awesome. It also, well, we'll talk about this later, but the old games continuing and how much time that's eating up for new games is a very real discussion to have as well. Yeah. We were in the chat, and I was trying to point out to people that being a developer and releasing a new game may not be super fun right now when you see, other than Palworld, a bunch of them are playing fucking Guild Wars. A game that's like, you know, I was in high school when that game came out. You know, I wasn't, but that's how old it is. It's
funny how these trends kind of circle back. There was, for example, Monster Hunter World also coming back. I don't know if you saw, but
I did.
Everybody and their mother, you know, has been playing that.
Yeah. Turnoff says, no, Karak, keep League away. I think he means keep me away from League. Or are you saying I would ruin League if I played it? It's probably true. Wannabe Dev, Ron 50, welcome back from the brink.
Hey.
So, God damn it, hang on. Wow. So I do want to point something out. Huge thanks to Purple, Sleeve, Silver, the devs, and Wannabe Dev, because I happened to be talking to him when shit hit the fan. We had been getting a bunch of issues prior to the power going out inside of our Discord with some hacks and stuff. You know, just the way Discord works. And when the power went out, I was sitting there going, fuck, I can't fix it. If I'm, you know, I was using cellular network, which is smoke signal speed. You know, that shit was like suggestion speed by the time I was trying to do anything. I tried to talk in chat a couple days. Nobody bitched, but I could tell they were like, dude, I hope he fucking leaves. Because it was, you know, crunchy, bad sound. And those guys stepped up and they made it so I could worry about the real stuff. And I don't mean real stuff as in it doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. But real stuff like, you know, stopping pets from dying and shit. Like the stuff that keeps you sane. And they did an awesome job. So super big thanks to Game Dev. Like I said, Silver, Purple Santa, and Sleeve. They rocked it. They kept everything actually working really smooth. And without doing what I would do, if you step in as a temporary mod, you have a tendency to put your foot down. You're like, hey, we're going to make sure we nip everything in the bud early so that Karak doesn't come back and there's a wasteland of F-bombs or there's porn posted everywhere. And instead, they just did awesome, man. It's like, there's a reason why I've known you, Sleeve, all Silver, Purple Santa for 13 years. There's a reason why I trust all those guys, and they did phenomenal. And I want to say how much I appreciate that. Also, welcome to the 450 YouTube members who are brand new. Once we opened up Discord to YouTube members, man, a bunch of people jumped in. Yeah, it's been great. Let's see. So again, thank you to them. Halo no longer having seasons. RIP. Legendary relics coming. Palworld's been really fun. Yeah, let's discuss Palworld, dude. All right. So let's talk about it in all the good aspects, then we'll talk about some of the other stuff. Have you played it?
No, I haven't played it.
Okay. So Palworld is a unique game, dude. It is, man, it is simultaneously utter trash. One of the worst looking games I've seen in years that's popular. Animations, terrible. Pathing, terrible. Sound, terrible. And yet, it's got a nerd cycle to it that is perfect. They understood exactly what matters. And it's why I was talking on Twitter. I was like, dude, I wish every person who covers games would play it because it explains fun factor. You hear people say more than the sum of its parts. You hear people say, I can't describe why it's good, but it's still good. Palworld is a game, even if you don't like it, what have you, that you can still look at it and appreciate it for the cycle of events and how it works out and how the gameplay loop is.
What's funny, even watching it, despite how utterly broken some things are, like, you know, some of the Pokemon were phasing into terrain. It was all over the place, dude. It's like early access, you know, like deep early access. But there was something about just being in that area, surrounded by your, like, I'm calling them Pokemon, but, you know, the pals, right?
Yeah.
All your pals, like, carrying materials and doing stuff around the place and, like, you know, fixing something. Or there's something about that, you know, just seeing the animations of like, oh, okay, that guy's like watering the plants because it's a water pal. I don't know, like, it works, man.
Bro, there were times where I had to have somebody, this is how bad Palworld is graphically sometimes. I had to have somebody explain to me that one of them wasn't pissing on the plants because the water they had fucked up, or they just, the model is off and the piss, it looks like piss or navel fluid is squirting on stuff. And I'm like, what is this game? And they're like, no, dude, it's just water. Like, it's just the way it is. You know, it's basic. It's fucking horrendous looking at times. But the gameplay loop that they understood isn't just a gameplay loop you would see in other games. It's a true Pokemon nerd loop, meaning they understood not just games, what works in a cycle of upgrade, breed, you know, go discover, blah, blah, blah. It's that they understood that within a Pokemon context. Because what you could have seen with guns in particular and survival is that they hinged on the survival cycle, or they hinged on guns as a cycle. They didn't. They hinged on the Pokemon stuff. And the honest truth is, the Pokemon relationship with Nintendo fans is abusive as hell. It's terrible. They put their worst, developer on it. Nintendo, like, legitimately spends $6. Yeah. Those are the guys who are looking for rip-off rip-off vaccinations. I mean, they don't spend shit on. And what you've seen is a bunch of fans react in the void. It's like a loveless marriage, and somebody shows up, a Lothario. They're like, hey, how you doing? And the wife's like, what? This is what love is. And they left, man. Yeah. And my hope is they leave in droves and they go to these other games, and that creates a gap in Nintendo. And Nintendo looks and says, we've done horrible with the entire Pokemon franchise. We haven't updated anything. We've treated it like shit. And Palworld's success, #1 on Game Pass sales, #1 on Xbox sales, and it's on Game Pass, which goes, you know, there's some very cool articles recently that are showing that subscription services aren't the death everybody thought they were. This is another example, but Palworld is doing phenomenal numbers. Do you remember? I was waking up and looking, and it was like, Palworld sold 1 million. All right, whatever. Eden Uncrustable. Palworld sold 2 million. I'm like, what?
And like
3 million.
Steam as well, not just Game Pass.
No, I know.
It hit a peak of, I think it was like 1.3 million concurrent players on Steam, which beat like I think Elden Ring and Cyberpunk and stuff. And dude, it was the third most popular category on Twitch too. Like I don't know if it still is, but it's insane.
It's so awesome that they understand how to nail that part. It isn't awesome that they spent so little on some of the other stuff. There are a lot of things that in that game really need to be fixed. But again, until Nintendo gets off their asses and puts some resources into it, we're just going to continually get shafted. And these kind of games, if they even offer something that's generally alike and it does a good job, it's like League, right? It's like those games. Sometimes the good games crop up because they work, and other times it's a bad game that crops up and you're like, I don't know. With Palworld, I admit, man, I look at it and I'm like, but at the same time, it's got exactly what it needs to succeed. There's some other issues that people brought up that could possibly, be a problematic, but overall, I really do like it, and or like what I'm seeing. Dude, I saw people streaming it, and they were talking about it like little kids talked about getting a toy on
just
Christmas.
Enchanted, isn't it? Like people enchanted by it.
Yeah, and I mean, I had people walking me through their world, going, "Oh, look at this! Oh, look at that! Oh, look at this! Oh, look at that!" And just being like fucking absolutely stunned with all these stupid looking.
How would you describe?
Owls.
How would you describe the building in it? That's one thing I haven't seen people build that much. It seems like the Pokemon was the focus part of it.
I mean, it's not as good as Enshrouded, which we'll talk about in a bit, which has, I got it right, by the way, everybody listening. I got Enshrouded right.
Enshrouded.
I've called it everything but Enshrouded in the last 3 days.
Because it's one of those generic names that
it's terrible.
Blends into everything.
I called it On Guard one time. Like, that could also just be because I'm sick, but it was ridiculous. But the building's okay. I thought the building, I played it for a while. It was like the building sort of works, pretty easy to do. It looks sort of like shit. The placement's pretty good, but it didn't really light my fire for whatever reason for building like Enshrouded did. But it supplements what they're trying to do, which is all they really care about is Pokemon fucking. That's the cycle here that matters the most, and finding more stuff and the survival element. And so the building stuff, at least so far from what I've seen, hasn't been like, it hasn't made me go, wow. It's been more about all the characters and raising them up in the skills and all the stuff that people have been doing and excited about. Man, I had guys walking me around going, this is my Pokemon who does this. This is my, Pal. This is my pal who does this. This is my pal who does that.
Let's not pretend it's something else than just Pokemon, because I think this is a kudo to them. It's that even though they're blatantly copying some of these things, like the Arc Evolved thing with Pokemon and other aspects like the stamina from Zelda and stuff, I think they did a good job of putting it all together. It does seem like it's all fitting. It's not like they have patchwork things. It actually does feel like it works well. The ability to build stuff works well with then having the Pokemon who can help you the upkeep of what you build and stuff like that. At least in principle, it's like it made sense.
It makes sense, and not only that, Johnny, it is a game like. Everybody plays tennis. If somebody showed up suddenly throwing a basketball around, you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, man? What are you doing? Right here. So to change everything makes no sense. Did they copy really close? Like, a new tennis player maybe watched one particular tennis player all their life, so they play a lot like them? Sure. Yeah. That is for sure happening. But to fit within the survival, building, Pokemon gameplay, there are some specific things you want to do. I can tell you the Pal Ball's pretty stupid. Comes across way too close as a copy. It didn't need to be done.
Because that's exactly, like, even the way
Right.
It like shakes when it's about
There's
to...
no reason to even do that. As in, you could have not done that, and you wouldn't have not captured a nostalgic group. That wasn't needed. There's certainly some stuff like that is way too copied. But, dude, it's success. And I've talked to people, and I'm like, dude, what are you liking? What are you disliking? I don't know. I'm just breeding some pals over here in the corner. There's no podcast. And I'm like, I don't know if I feel like I can say anything negative to that. It's like, all right, man, that's what gaming's about. You're having a good time.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's like, hey, I get it. But I will say, if they were to say the pathing on the pals was excellent, I would check them into a fucking mental institution. Like, there are real problems with it too, and so
that's what you were saying about the fun factor, because it's like, you're having a great time, but you can't ignore.
Yeah, Johnny, because dude, when it reminds you of a car that's like, it's a piece of shit, and every day you get to work, you're like, thank God it didn't blow up. That's PAL in every sense of the word. It is a disaster in so many ways, but the one thing is it gets you to work every day, and you feel that like love for it. And I have a feeling it's going to last for a long time. You know how you and I have seen, for example, I know Apex is still doing well, but you get those games that shoot up. The finals, by the way, has dropped almost 80% of its player base, probably because of Palworld, some of these other big games. But you get those titles that you and I have talked about. Oh, this is going to be the next big thing. And
flavor of the week,
and it goes from 1 million to 6 fucking dudes sitting alone with the developers in a chat somewhere, going, "What happened? Where does love go when it's gone?" I don't think that's going to be this game. It feels like this game, unless Nintendo comes after them, or somebody comes after them and tries to like take them down for any kind of copying they feel has been done. I mean, there is a difference between inspiration and true copy. If you look at Digimon and you look at Pokemon, there's a lot of similarities, but there's also enough differences that I don't think anybody who is even slightly a fan would look at a Digimon game and go, or Battle Monsters, and be like, that's Pokemon. This one?
Yeah, this is like Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yeah, pretty close to the sun. Pretty close to the sun. Yeah, there's definitely moments like that.
In this case, the sun being Nintendo and their
lawyers
tendency to like sue the hell out of people.
Yeah. Wannabe Dev, I read yours already. Paul the Hut, $5. This is off topic, but some time ago, Absy mentioned the SP mod for Tarkov. I was wondering if he had a chance to try it and see what did he think. We'll ask him next podcast, sir. He is not here today. He is celebrating somebody's squirt out of the vagina day. Jay Reaper, $5 super chat. We back. We are. Jay, I feel like I just talked to you. In fact, I did. We stayed up almost all night in chat. Yiming Gaming, $2. Happy you're okay and glad to see you back. I'm not okay, but I am back. Those two things do not have to be connected.
One of those things is...
JG says, Joe G says, podcast at the same time of a Dr. Disrespect stream. Come on, guys. Who's Dr. Disrespect? It sounds like some kind of like scam artist. Just joking. Yeah, Dr.
I
Disrespect
quite honestly didn't
us.
know he was. I didn't know he was still around.
Yeah, he had to switch to YouTube because all the stuff that went on with Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch.
And I've seen some streams of his where he's discussed the lack of support for streamers on YouTube, and I would agree. He's got some really good points. Watched a couple of his streams. Actually, I find him hilarious sometimes. Like some of the stuff he talks about and pulls off. I like that persona kind of stuff. I think it's actually quite enjoyable. But let's be honest, you guys can watch us. You can watch him later. It's just going to be him headshotting the same 7 rednecks anyway. It's like being surprised when somebody wins NASCAR. It's always the same 7 rednecks. I'm just joking. Somebody who likes NASCAR is going to be really mad. They're going to be really mad right now. Hey, speaking of changes to like winners and losers, did you hear what's his name lost in the Australian Open? See, I'm gonna mess up his name. Let me look real quick. Narwhal. Australia. Do you ever watch tennis?
Yep. Yeah, sometimes.
This morning, Jovic, or whatever his name is, Djokovic.
Yeah.
I think Game Dev was saying that he had lost. Yeah, Narwhal. I was close. Narwhal, Javovic, whatever. Close. Like, yeah. So when you look at Palworld, you look at the successes there, I think it's easy to forget that Tekken and Infinite Wealth came out. Yeah. And what do you think of both of those? Any idea? You got Infinite Wealth. Are you going to do Tekken?
I got it. I haven't played it yet. I did play the Tekken demo.
What'd you think?
And that one, I think it looks incredible. That's one thing, UE5.
Yeah.
Looks insane. I am not sold yet on the gameplay. And I think this is just me with fighting games. I struggle. There have been a couple that felt pretty good, like Injustice we've talked about. But I never feel it very rewarding to just play. I feel that has to be a requirement, to enjoy those games. You have to like the moment to moment. Yeah. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing there, right? Like, I'm never going to play one of those games for the story, even though I've liked some of them, like Mortal Kombat has had some good campaigns and stuff. But at the end of the day, if I'm not enjoying the moment to moment, and I'm not there yet. And I appreciate that they're adding stuff like the coaching in the, I think it's the arcade mode, where you can get some input about how you can improve. And there's also a special mode, which I think makes it easier with like the inputs and stuff. But yeah, I think I'm not a big fighting fan. I'm just coming to accept it.
Right. And who knows, it might come back in 5 years, man. You might, I've done it too, where I've circled around. Yeah. I have enjoyed it. So I got it for review, but luckily the power was out. Because if the power wasn't out, I probably would have bitched about this. But for whatever reason, once again, a company pulled one of the dumbest moves I think I've continued to see in PR, which is adjusting and having different embargoes. It was one of those things. So I see a bunch of video reviews, and I'm like, hey, a bunch of people broke the embargo. Just FYI, I have no power. I'm not doing one right now. But, they broke embargo. And can I post? Oh, no. We've got special embargoes with all. I'm like, dude, seriously. That is like 1904 ideals, going on. I know it's the idea to keep the talk going, but a lot of people just get really tired of it. And let's be honest, if you or I see 10 reviews on Monday, chances are I'm not going to check 2 reviews on Tuesday. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't fulfill anybody. But what I did see was a lot of people liking it. I think the control is good. I've enjoyed the gameplay of it. Graphically, it looks awesome. It's got some issues technically that I've already seen. And I believe on the PC it's locked at 60. If I remember right, reading that, somebody was saying it was locked at 60 unless you use a mod, which I thought was odd.
Is that to do with the animations, like in Dark Souls 3, where they locked it for that reason?
Absolutely possible. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. I'll look into it more. But I did some of the training, did some of the... I just jumped directly into training, crank the difficulty to the hardest, and get killed until I don't. That's always how I do fighting games. So I go in, I crank the difficulty all the way to the hardest in practice mode, and I just watched. And like pretty soon you sort of like, okay, I can block, I know this move, I can block low at the end, blah, blah, blah. And you start to pick up on it. Man, I like it. It's probably my favorite Tekken. It's not the best Tekken, I don't think. I think there's a discussion now that's going on, between people who feel it's goes away from its roots, whatever, that kind of thing. But I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed playing. It's got a lot of characters. Doesn't have as many stages as I was hoping. I don't know why that. I don't know if that's just me. I haven't really looked into the online zeitgeist of it all. But yeah, graphically, man, that game looks fucking.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Awesome. It's such a jump up. I will say Tekken has always had that I thought I looked cool in the 1980s dress style. And that's what happened, by the way. I go in and you got Sleeve, whose Sleeve has to, he jumps in there, and the first thing Wannabe Dev says, or maybe somebody said it, was holy shit. Like, these guys just But man, their design is fucking terrible on some of these guys. Like, you know, they look like the characters. It's so far beyond. And Tekken adds almost every time. It seems like they add more and more. But yeah, I liked it. I liked what I saw. I picked about 6 characters to play and jumped around. I thought control-wise it was pretty good. 3D movement seemed... So, I don't know if you do a lot of 3... You don't, you'd said. But with 3D movement in games, like when you go back to Virtual Fighter 3, I think might have been the first... Virtual Fighter's always had it. But it depends, you know, double tap to go down, up twice up tap to go, you know, into the background and do your 3D movement. I've always felt like the more rewarding ones are the ones that truly make somebody whiff on 3D movement, meaning you get a huge whiff. When somebody gets ready for the combo, you do the movement and they whiff, and there's that good animation of this guy screwed up. Like this guy punched the ref in a heavyweight, you know, they missed completely, they punched themselves in the face. It doesn't, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've only done about 8 hours, but I never felt that. I felt like the 3D movement was there. There was some enjoyment to it, but it never made me go, dude, like, this is going to be the top, you know, a priority. I haven't gleaned if that's true or not yet. It just didn't entice me. That was the one thing.
What did you think of the heat mode thing? That's new, right? Isn't that pretty different than...
Yeah, it's somewhat new, and I'm going to be honest, man, any of the added stuff in any of these games never, ever, ever, ever become my favorite thing in the fighting game. Every game's had it, by the way. Every game tries something. Ultra, break, gauge mode, heat mode, you know, seduce mode. And you're just like, guys, come on. Get your core fighting down. I get it. It's like, oh, look at us. We've got a special Uber mode. Whatever. Everybody's got it. It hasn't lit my fire. I like the core fighting stuff, moves, heat gauges and stuff like that. I get why they're used, and the idea of you're fighting back from behind, that kind of stuff is great. But yeah, it hasn't really grabbed me so far. The classic mode hasn't either. What is it? Special or classic mode? You can hit a button, and
it's special mode.
Yeah. Like I did it, and I was looking at it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not. At least right now, I'm not going to use that at all. Like it wasn't for me.
I think that's supposed to be for new players. I was playing with that.
Right, but it's switchable it's switchable at any time.
Oh,
and
I didn't realize.
Right. So I'm sure there's probably an option that says, hey, when you go online, make sure no one can use this mode or switch into it unless you both agree or something. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I wasn't a huge... It just didn't really entice me too much. I think the core combat's fine. Blocking, I felt... For me, 3D blocking, I like buttons. I'll just be honest. I usually like a button to block. However, this worked. This was the first one I can say. Dead or Alive also did okay with this. Dead or Alive 6, which was microtransaction hell. But this one, I actually felt I was enjoying the blocking in this, which sometimes in 3D games, I'm like, it's like finicky. It doesn't really react in the way I want. So far it's been... Yeah, it's been really good.
Do you do D-pad or like joystick?
Man, okay. So I'm doing both. I thought you were going to ask analog versus D-pad. Dude, this is weird. Normally, I think analog's always better. In this one, there were times, and it could be my stick. It's slightly old. Or my gamepad. It's slightly old. But there were times where I was like, man, this move isn't triggering. Like, at all. You know, where you watch the replay and you're like, this is a basic move. This is a basic bitch move. Like, anybody can pull this off. And you'd be like, why is it? This doesn't feel right. But then I went to the analog and it did. And I admit I normally go digital pad. But this time, I found myself occasionally going with a certain move. So I'd be doing digital and then literally go analog for a move and be like, I don't know if I'm supposed to. I don't know if that's like a me. I mean, obviously,
is that an issue?
Thing.
Like it's not as responsive.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is like I don't know if it is now game or stick. I know that or arcade stick sleeve is using
like
his arcade stick.
Arcade,
and I've got an arcade stick that I'll throw out there. I don't know how much I'll jump into this. If I was reviewing it, I'd be in it for 2 or 3 weeks. But for now, it's enjoyable, man. It's a Tekken game, though. You know, like they all have their different fight style.
These games, do you like play with people, like with friends, just like duels and stuff, or mostly single player?
I have a friend who apparently can hook to the Matrix, because I don't care how long I've played it. He's one of those fighting. So Virtual Fighter, I can beat him 50-50 until he does Akira. That son of a bitch is always, that's ridiculous. But he'll come over and I'll plan and I'll be like, man, I got my shit down, blah blah blah. And first day he'll be like, oh,
he's already a god,
dude. Dude, I'll be like, hey, could the game start before you win? What's happening? And by the way, I legitimately believe he would never do this. Van Zoal, if you're out there listening, I believe he could win tournaments, and that's how good he is. Dude, if there were two characters against him, if it was Cadiz, who's really good, and me, who's, I'd say good, Cadiz can definitely beat me in a lot of the 2D fighters, I would guarantee you this guy would beat two people a couple times. Two good people, not great, blah, blah, blah. He's that good, though. He's like that tournament level where you just watch him and you're like, what the shit is going on? Yeah. That's always fun. So I play with them. Yeah. And then I love to turn it on hard, just watch the animations. I wish, I haven't found it yet, but Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, you could turn the bots on to defend yourself. You would put a team together to defend your multiverse, but you could speed it up to 8 times speed, and that's my jam. Nothing is better than cranking it up to 8 times speed, and then when you play it normally, everything feels slow. And I don't know if Tekken has that, but that's my... Yeah, I feel like once I saw that, it was... I do the same in Unreal Tournament, where I'll put it to 200 or 300% before I play people. And then you go to 100%, you're like, dude,
that's almost like that
molasses.
Dragon Ball thing of training with weights, or like gravity.
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you remember that? Like,
hey,
heavy gravity.
I love my weight belt, or my weighted vest. So maybe that's it.
Vests, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good game, man. Good graphics. I'm glad they did well. It's scoring well. In chat, what do you guys think? Have you guys been a fan? Chip damage is dumb as hell in 3D fighting games, says Omanu Marumanu. You already have means to deal with turtles, he says. SBZ says, I'm glad for the chip damage. It discourages turtles. So there you go, back and forth, right? Tekken 8 is also controversial among old fans due to shifting from being mostly defense-oriented to more esports offense. Yeah, I think we could all expect. I think everybody expected that fight to happen. Yeah. G says, so what fighting games do you prefer over Tekken? Me? Without a doubt, Virtual Fighter. It's not even in the same. It's like
the basic movement of it is just
movement, more cleaner. Realism with the martial arts, less fireballs kind of stuff. I don't.
Yeah,
need
because
that kind
Tekken is very over the top, right? I mean, that's something I noticed. With the like the cutscenes and stuff. It's like people's muscles have muscles that have other muscles that shoot
like nipple lasers,
nipple lasers.
Yeah, it's just
it's full on.
I get it for sure, but yeah. Do you do any fighter? Do you do? Okay, so you're not what about 2D? You're not a 2D fan either.
I've done some. So and in a more distant past, I have done quite a bit. For example, Street Fighter 2, Tekken 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Those I played quite a bit. I was never good at them, and I would say if there is such a thing as intuition in fighting games, I have the opposite of it, where I'm just not really learning it. Like, it doesn't feel, like I'm getting better at those games in a certain way. I do think if someone helped, like if you played with me and you were like teaching me, I could learn, but by myself, I don't really feel like I have intuition for those games. And I played kind of interspersed things, some Mortal Kombat, also Mortal Kombat 2 back in the day, but more recent ones like 4. I played a campaign of that, and I've played a few of the Budokai ones from Dragon Ball. So I sometimes enjoy them, but that's what I would say is that the combat never really clicked with me. Maybe the one time where it did was Injustice, where that one felt really good to play. But it was also much more accessible, I think, than a lot of
even
these.
in the fiction, when you see Batman, you already know he's going to throw a batarang, right? So it is accessible by its very fiction and by the very expectations you have. And I think that's one of the great things about it, is it just sort of works in that way. Javier, $5 quick question. with chat to help after issues with weather over there. Favorite characters in Tekken for both of you? Gang. So here's another problem I have with Tekken. I've never, ever had a favorite character.
You just don't like any characters?
It's not that I
Really?
don't like them, it's that I don't love them. Nobody becomes a favorite. I pick the rip-off Bruce Lee every time, because I know Bruce Lee is a generalized, character style. And then I play around with some of them, but no. They've never appealed to me to pick a particular character.
From the older ones, I liked Eddie because he did capoeira, which is from Brazil, where I'm from. He had a cool move set. They did a good job of showing that too, like the way he dances capoeira. That's the real thing.
It feels good, at least in that way. Again, in a weird way, that's accessible to you. Do you get you know what I mean? It's one more step that
you can kind of expect what he can do.
Yeah, if there was an Uncrustables throwing character, right? I'd be like, dude, I got you. You're my favorite. I'm even looking at the character list right now to try to pick one that I would even say is generally enjoyable to me as a fictional character and fun to watch, and not even one is popping up. Let me look.
I do have a weird thing with Tekken and the characters, which is on one hand, I kind of hate how over-sexualized the ladies are, but that's, I think, in almost every fighter game, like Street Fighter and stuff. But then I do like the contrast of this ridiculously jacked dude fighting this tiny girl, wearing a thong, and she's able to kick his ass. And it looks convincing, it looks cool. So that's also a cool contrast.
I would say, so far, Law is always going to be my favorite in all Tekkens because he's the rip-off Bruce Lee. But Leroy and Fang are probably the three that, when they come up, if I don't want to choose, I choose, if that makes sense. If I don't want to think about the choice, I choose them, because they generally fit some stereotype that I have always liked in a fighting game. Zyrtec for Sex says, can you give a small rundown of the exact timeline of what happened to you? I think we did already. I'm assuming he means power outage. Let's go. We'll do it quickly. It was 45 degrees, and then 8 hours later, it was 20 degrees. And it dropped too quickly for anybody to be prepared, and it blew apart all the power poles in my city. So we lost power, and then we kept losing power, and it never came back. And I did do the thing I think a lot of us do, where you just sit back and you're like, at some point it'll come back on. And it didn't, and it didn't, and it didn't. And then one car broke down, so we jumped in the other one. That broke down and got stuck. And then they didn't know the water was contaminated. They warned everybody as soon as possible, but one of the dogs got into what we think was contaminated water, so he had liver failure. So we got him to the vet. He was in for a day and a half. And then internet went down, so we couldn't even use the internet with a battery backup for the router. And then I got COVID.
Man, what a combo. Holy.
Yeah.
Holy
and about
moly.
3 a.m. one morning, I just woke up and I was like, listen, I might have pissed some deity off, because this is ridiculous. It just kept happening.
You're banking karma points to the extreme. You're going out to play the lottery next week.
I have a bug out bag, it had batteries. I'm always prepared. So I had all that. We were great. But we lost our food supply, so we got a friend, and they brought us food and COVID. And it was, you know me, I do not want to get that. I have older family members and stuff, so I've been very careful. And to say I was mad is the understatement of the century. I was ready to kick through the wall of the house, man. I was like, are you kidding me? This person didn't take basic precaution. What the shit? And they knew they had it. It was just one of those things, you know. ACG, I hope you and your family are safe and sound. We are always going to be safe. The reason why I didn't bring it up other than to joke online and talk to the people is because there's wars going on. So it's like, whatever. You know, there's not much you can say. I certainly bitched about the cold, man. It was uncomfortable. I looked over at my wife and she breathed out and I saw frost. And we were in our house in bed. And I was like, okay, we probably just need to have her go to a hotel. And instead, she was like, fuck that, man. I'm a trooper. She did more than I did. She had shit. Dude, she rocked it, man. She took all the batteries to work. She has an office. So once she got one of the cars somewhat fixed, it had no windshield wipers, which sucks in Oregon. But yeah, she went in and she charged everything. So it was awesome. It just cost a lot, man. The doctor bill is for a dog is ridiculous when it's an ER. Like you always forget. I had a doggy insurance too, and it even eclipsed that. Banned from YouTube. Banned from YouTube. Obviously not, because you just posted. $10 super chat. It's good to see you, gents. Glad you're safe, especially Dwight. Thank you. I know that joke. Maylock says, the majority of Oregon went boom, lost power because of how much moisture was in the air. Yeah, there's somebody who just posted. They're on day 13 with no power. So.
Dude, that's so insane.
Yeah, let's move on from the fucking sad stories. Who gives a shit? I'm alive. Whatever. So we got Tekken, Infinite Wealth, which we've talked about a bunch. I don't want to talk too much about Infinite Wealth because I feel like we'll spoil.
Should we hit Enshrouded? So
let's talk about Enshrouded, dude.
You did a preview. Is that the correct term? Is it a preview or is it like a impressions?
Yeah, preview, impressions. Yeah, because a preview would be really it's not out yet. So this was an impressions of Enshrouded, and dude, it
didn't look half bad actually. From
boy, did you just fucking nail it. Here's
not half bad.
It's the Tekken 8 of survival games. It's not. It didn't light my fire, but it's right there, right? It's right. It offers what you want, but it doesn't have the shroud thing. They try to add in that, which is like this decayed area that'll make you sick if you stay in it. But as I said at the end of the preview, listen, if you're going into this expecting some magic change, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Instead, it's got good building, pretty okay survival combat. You know survival combat, right? A little shady.
It looked a bit better than like other.
It is better than
Valheim, and those are crusty as hell.
Yeah, it is better, but it's still, it's jank.
Yeah,
right. It's jank,
and it looks pretty simple. Like at least the stuff that I saw. I know there's also magic.
There is.
Most of what I saw was like sword and board. Like
and you've got a parry mechanism. You've got a skill board that's huge. Though hilariously enough, the skill board, as I said, it is weird when they're like warrior, barbarian, tank right next to each other, and in your brain you're like, what's the difference? Why are they entire trees and they're all on the same side? That's going to cause some confusion. And I think for some, it's a little shady in how tight it is. Shady, not in a bad way, but a little shady is in no definition of dark and light. It's more just gray on those, and I would have liked it to matter more.
Oh, I see what you mean. And this is something we saw with Avowed too. I think it's that they want people to be able to like mix and match or take things from one class with another and make it their own. I think maybe that's where it's going. I do like the sphere grid or whatever. I'm into those.
Yeah, I think, dude, the building, the upgrading of your flame so that when others join you, let's say you're having a problem with a boss. If you're having a problem with a boss, you can't defeat him, and you're like, I don't know if I want to grind all this stuff. You can also upgrade your shrine, which gives everybody on your server more stats, basically more power. It plays. It's a survival game. They're not necessarily my favorite unless they have something. This tried to have a couple things, but they didn't go too far. That's the thing, is the shroud is there, but it's not there. It's not omnipresent. It's not Dark Souls, heavy on your shoulders. Instead, it's an added thing. What they did do nice was, what's in the shroud? Other stuff you need for building things. So you can build things normally, but some stuff that you want is going to be in the shroud, which is where, there be dragons. So I like that, where I was like, okay, I know that when I go into the shroud, does it copy a lot of stuff? Fuck yeah, dude. You get a Zelda glider. Like, there's no way around
the
it.
glider,
Like,
yeah, I saw that.
You get a grip, and I'm like, bro, did you guys even, like, it's not that they didn't try, it's that I think they didn't feel it was worth differentiating. They were just like, hey, it works in this, we're going to do it. The grapple works, we're going to do it. Even the animation sometimes using the grapple was like, this reminds me of Batman. This, you know, this move reminds me of this. This reminds me of that. But you get in, had some cool puzzles. Building is awesome. It's voxel based.
It looks good.
Yeah. Building is by far better than Palworld. So Palworld is like fucking D tier building, right? This is not
basically,
S, but it's certainly
it's
A.
like barely functional building.
Yeah, in this you can do some cool stuff. I saw people making Hobbiton-looking locations. I did that. You can not only build yourself a wall, but of course grab each individual block.
I saw you can do like basements and full-on like underground areas.
Do you know what
awesome.
I did? When I finally got ready to do the preview, this was exciting to me. When I finally got ready to do the preview, you can do geomorphing and all this stuff, but I wanted to sort of mess around. So I found a big hill, and I just made like a Hobbiton hovel in it by caving it out and having caves. And I was like, oh, I didn't upgrade my illumination yet to put a lamp, so I just threw a torch in there. And it worked. And I was like, oh, that's sort of cool. And it sounds bad it sounds like... oh, the torch should go out. I'm glad it didn't, because when I threw that torch in and it worked, it was just me going, oh, organically that did exactly what I was hoping it would do, which is offer light from these 5 tunnel faces, which is what it did. So now I was like, hey, I can jump in here at any time, and it worked great. Banned from YouTube, $10. Damn it, he says, laughing. Yeah, I teased you, but it's all love, James. I mean, you're obviously not banned from YouTube. James, 20, or I called you James. Sorry, the next one is James. $20. Please give your dog a big hug. I have, man. He's my best guy, and he's getting a little bit long in the tooth. So we try to keep him safe. So yep, he's still alive. So am I. We'll see how that goes. Aqua Mini Gaming says, awesome to see you back. Adam says, sad to hear about your dog, KARAK. Glad weather isn't as drastic in rainy England. COVID sucks. I have to have a heart bypass while I had COVID. Oh, I had to have a heart bypass while I had COVID, which meant I had more than 1 in 5 chance of living. Bro, you're alive, though, right? There you go. Bro, you made it. You made it. Yeah, I don't know your name. You want to try to pronounce that, Johnny?
Oninamiru.
Yeah, Oninamiru says, grappling hook and glider always makes any game better. Oh, yeah, it's like jetpacks for me.
You know, I have a theory. I don't know about you. Oh,
here we go.
But I think that if they could, they would have put like a horse or something in this game to travel. But I think horses are hard to do for a team of this, or like for a project of this scope. And I think the glider is a really nice shortcut because it requires like basically 0 animation, and you have no problems with terrain and colliding with stuff. And it's a really good solution to make traveling nicer from a quality of life standpoint. Because now all of a sudden you can travel to one of the, towers or whatever, waypoints, and then from there you glide towards where you want to go.
Bro, not only that, since you can fast travel back, right?
To the base, right? You can always...
Yeah, it rewards risk. So, like, I saw the shroud, and I looked, I needed shroud wood or a couple things that were shroud tainted. So I was like, screw it, man. And just went in, took my chances, and then, teleported back, got to the edge, and then teleported back. But for the most part, you can teleport back. Yeah, it works, man. It works. It's like, that's the way it needs to be. If it was a game that is known for its mechanics, like a Dark Souls or the game you liked, Forgotten game. What the fuck's that called? Shrouded Mists. Whatever. What is it?
I know exactly which one, but I've actually also forgotten the name.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right? If it was a game like that,
yes.
It would dive into those mechanics and make them crunchy. It's not about that. And that's what I like. It's like, hey, it's just it's have fun. Build some shit. Somebody was asking how like adjustable and flexible the building is. Pretty fucking flexible, man. I made some cool looking stuff, and there's a video out there where some people were making some great stuff. That is for sure what people will do in this. Yeah. Make some
I
great
saw something
things.
Painful though. is someone had built an entire second floor. Do you? Okay.
Maybe not.
People in chat, someone built an entire second floor with like everything, right? It's like decorated. It's fucking ready. And they only had one set of stairs going up into this second floor. And they removed it because they thought, oh, I'm just going to readjust it. And they thought you can just remove the stairs and, replace it. But that was the only thing connecting to the second floor. So the entire second floor demolished and imploded. And you just saw like a rain of stone because everything that this person had built on the second floor disappeared because they broke the stairs that were going up. I don't know if this is something that maybe they fixed already, but I saw this and it broke my soul because it was like an entire second level.
You are supposed to be able to build without worrying about physics. So he may have hit the button that's destroy things and destroyed everything on accident, but I didn't know that could happen. What I thought you were going to say was there's a geo ability with the hammer, and you don't need to do as much mining as people think. So you have streamers who spend hours mining when it would have taken them 7 minutes with the geo, and that happened to almost everybody I know. Almost everybody I know just thought, there's no way you can just do this, and so they were like working and doing all this shit, and then you find out 5 seconds later it's like, oh, I could have hit a button and done that. But yeah, it's I'm gonna have to check on that part because I never built anything that, let's say, was oh shit, I see what you're saying.
Because the thing is, most people would build it with some other foundation, like pillars on the edges.
So yeah, so when you build out, I never destroyed. So if I built a line, I never destroyed the middle to see what would happen.
That's right.
But I get what you're saying.
So I don't know. Maybe it was a weird interaction with that.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Blue Sunrise says, games need to stop competing with each other for release dates. Do they realize people have limited time? They do. They all do, by the way. And it's not that there's competition. It's that there's an unlimited number of games released every day. And so for the end, they choose a day and they ramp up their development cycles. Some can change. We saw Baldur's Gate move theirs fairly late. We've seen a couple companies move early, but they're not competing. I mean, they are, but they're not. What I mean is they're not like, hey, let's do this. Look at Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West. Those dudes have the worst release schedule possible. Every time they've done a game, they've announced they've got their PR cycle ready, and then some other game. Elden Ring was one, Zelda was the other, right? I think they got double whammied on the original and then on the sequels.
Yeah, so I think it's also not that easy to change your release date if you have it all planned out. And like you're saying, if you have, your PR all like contracted.
PR
all
certification, like, digital stores. You tell the digital store this is the day, but no, you can change some of those, but it's not like it doesn't just happen magically. There's steps you have to take. Yeah. The Forbidden West devs must just be like, come on. Who did we piss off? Because those guys just each time it's like, hey, blah blah blah. And by the way, I love their games too. So it's like I've really thought about this hard, Johnny. Lately, with all the open worlds, I found myself thinking more about the Horizon games, probably because of dinosaurs and neon and robots, than I have a lot of the big, great, amazing open worlds. And I get what everybody's saying. I wish they were able to
those are standout games.
They are beautiful, man. Bob Ross.
Remember, the PC version is coming out this year for Forbidden West. I think in March, something like that.
Thank you, everybody, by the way, for the super chats. Also, if you get a chance, go to iTunes. I would absolutely, this is just me being brutally honest, when you rate the podcast, it does help. It's almost like wish list in a game. If you want to rate us a 1, say, hey, I hate KARAK. He's stupid and ugly. Feel free. But if you want to say something good, you can do the same thing, and I would absolutely appreciate it. It does help the channel. Moving on from all of that, let's talk about something you posted. Last of Us 2 The remakening and neenaning.
Yeah.
So I have review code for this, and I've played a great deal of it, and I really like the roguelike a lot. That mode. A lot. It's basic, man, but it is and it's basic. I mean, some of the levels are small. Like when you go in, you basically have a CSI crime board. You say, I want to do this level or this level, and it gets mods and adds mods to it. I really like it. Have you tried this at all? Have you?
I haven't done the roguelite yet, because they do say like, oh, we recommend you play through the game. And even though I had already done it, that's what I started doing. I was just playing through the story again.
Yeah. What have you? This is the other thing. Graphically, I don't really see it. There's really the remake part of it is like.
I hate to say it, I didn't notice a single damn thing. However,
there you go. Hey, unfiltered, go for it.
Just saying, like the game already looked fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it looked incredible. It looked like next gen or one gen ahead at the time. I think those guys always do a good job of squeezing the living fuck out. I hate to swear, but just like for emphasis, because they really push the limits of the platforms, I think, for graphics. But it is nice to play it on the PS5 with like performance mode, which is what I'm doing, where it's super smooth and everything is completely like no issues pulling you out of it.
I don't know, man. We've seen, because of the leaks, Sony definitely wants to do every 3 or 4 years do a remake of any of their big games and a remaster or whatever. That's what they did here. The rumor is, and I'm just saying this is a rumor, I'm not saying it's true, but the rumor, or maybe even a news story popped, that this is a smaller team that sort of was given the idea of, hey, let's get a game from start to finish for this small team so that they can know what it's like and they can move on. I actually don't have an issue with that. $10 for the upgrade, or the rogue. I guess you could say $10 for the rogue mode, the guitar mode, and a couple parts that weren't in the original game.
There's a guitar mode?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's basically, it's weird, dude. So it's like, it's basically an unlimited guitar mode, and you unlock more and more characters that you can play and instruments that you can do. Is it, for me? No, I have an issue with my PlayStation. I don't know. I would love to hear you. I would love for you to try this and come back to me on next Friday and tell me what you think. I don't think there's enough fidelity in the PS5's touchpad to.
No, not at all. Okay. Because I was in the story mode, and you get to play the guitar too in story mode, right? And what they wanted is to give you the feeling that you're strumming, but it's not responsive. So
it's not.
You will strum.
Okay.
And it will not match your motion. And sometimes it will be like you play one string. Another time will be like you strum all the strings. It's kind of.
And I was doing this thing where I was holding it. So I was trying to hack the game, man. I was like, I'm going to hold it like a guitar and tap it with my thumb, because I know enough about guitar to sound really bad.
Yeah, like plucking almost.
Yeah. And it would 70% of the time, but it mimicked a amateur. It, weirdly enough, it's like it mimicked me screwing up, and I was like, I don't know if I'm screwing up, because like there were times where I was using a pencil eraser trying to see if I could get it to sense, which it wasn't. But I started using my finger going dung 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 dung, and then I'd be like dung dung dung.
It doesn't, because I thought, okay, if I pinch like at the top, does it play the top string?
Right.
No, it's kind of random. It's,
or maybe not random, but maybe the touchpad is random. Maybe the touchpad's just lost that fidelity.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't reliably target something.
Yeah,
it is cool though. It
cool.
is cool that you can like play the chord and stuff. So but
it was a thing, right? I jumped into the banjo and I played what sounds like somebody who doesn't know how to play the banjo would sound, and I thought that was pretty cool. Messed around with it a little bit, but as a game, the $10 I think is absolutely all about if you want a rogue mode. And so here's where it's hurt. I just want to point out one thing. Here's where it's hurt, Johnny. God of War Ragnarok did the Rogue one for free.
They did.
And
they did it well too.
And
that
they
was a
did
good
it
Rogue.
well. So I was just going to say, I think they're slightly hurt in timing. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, I was going to say, because God of War had like a lot of voice acting and original content done for it.
Yep.
I don't know how it is for this one. If it's just sort of on the gameplay side.
Yeah, it feels like the lines I heard in the Rogue were copied from the game. Does that make sense? Where they were plucked from the game. Speaking of plucking, but they plucked them from the game and just plopped them
like
in.
General lines.
Yeah. I did have a great time in the Rogue thing, though, setting up traps because you know the wave is coming. So that's what's different about the game is, well, it's not different, but you sort of know where somebody's coming from in the game. There's a certain number of enemies here. There's waves. So I was having a good time being like, all right, dude, I'm going to craft. I can't remember the name of the bomb from the second character you get. It's like a trip. I think it's just a trip mine, but you know, planting one there and then backing away 50 feet, knowing that when the others hear the sound, they're going to come past that. I don't want to catch, I don't want it to go off early, so I'm going to set back. That was fun. Yeah, just being like, okay, and then hiding. And it gives you occasional NPC partners, which I don't know if I spaced that it was going to do that. But the first time I popped in and there was a dude with me, I was like, oh, dude, this is awesome. Like, I have an AI partner with me. This is pretty cool. Did they do much? No, but it didn't matter. It was sort of fun. I was like, hey, there's another guy with me. This is pretty sweet. He did that thing though, bro, where you hide and that motherfucker's standing in the middle of the doorway.
Oh,
and you're like, bro,
like
they're right
post.
there. What are you doing?
Yeah,
and you're trying to get him.
You're like waving to the bad guys.
Yeah,
like, hey guys.
I'm like doing the ass shuttle against the bench, being like, dude, come here, trying to get that AI to trigger, trying to get the AI to go, oh, I should probably hide. But other than that, yeah, it's fun. $10, you know.
Yeah.
If God of War hadn't been released and did their roguelike, I would say absolutely, and I still think you should rate everything on its own. Does it add $10 of fun? Yeah, for sure. It adds $10 of fun to me.
Yeah. I'm very conflicted about this game because the more I'm playing it, so I'm replaying the story now and stuff, and the more I play it, the less I know whether I should say I like the game or I really dislike the game. It's kind of like pulling me in different ways. The story and everything about that, I find very heavy, and I don't like it because for me, the dark stories need to have some contrapoint to give contrast to the dark stuff. Some levity, some lightness, points of relief here and there. And even though you have a couple, it's mostly like super heavy the whole time. And I don't like how the story itself is in the game. But the gameplay is so good. I love the experience of walking around and then like going into these derelict places looking for loot and stuff like that. There's something really compelling about just the walking around in the world.
I was trying to see if I had video queued up for this one. I don't for some reason. But yeah, graphically, I think you're right. There isn't much, but sound-wise and stuff, or not sound-wise, but gameplay-wise, you've got that. You've got the story that I think is pretty contentious, like you said. We never quite. It's very difficult to even discuss that story without one of the two sides coming out. Which is like, you should love it because of this, or you should hate it because of this. And I'm like, I actually think I'm just going to play the game and like it or hate it for what's in the game. And when you do that, I'm not 100% sure. I think I agree with everything you're saying. It's pretty heavy-handed. It's not that it's bad heavy-handed. We've seen heavy-handed movies. It's just one of those things. How far are you?
I'm I think almost halfway into the story. I'm about to like switch characters.
Oh, okay. Joel's the bad guy. What can we say? Joel just gets people killed.
Well, here we go. We're gonna get a whole thing started.
We're gonna get an AI review. Yeah, if anybody gets a chance, enjoy that AI review. Oregon Fresh says that's one awesome background ACG. Real pick or stock? Man, that is Did I take that? Maybe did I take that in Bend? I don't think. Nah, that's too big of a. I might have taken that, actually. That looks like my parents' backyard in Bend. If it's not.
Damn, that's insane.
Yeah, I took some really good pictures. They live in Bend, Oregon, and they're near the mountains. That. Nope. I think that's just stock from the website. I don't think that's their place. You know why? Because that doesn't show two things that you can tell a Karak took a picture of. His finger in the fucking edge or the lighting. It just looks really good. It doesn't look like it was taken by me. You can usually tell. What else do we got out of that? Anything for The Last of Us remake?
I did notice, so I was running performance mode and the game was running at 1080p, about 100 FPS.
Wow.
Which is interesting that they opted to. There was an option to lock at 60 if you wanted, but it didn't give you a higher resolution, so I just left it unlocked. I think it looked great. I have a 4K panel, but I think it does some upscaling, so it looked
pretty good.
Great for me, even 1080p. I would rather have a 60 FPS mode if I can get maybe a 1440p signal. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, didn't have that option.
I was pretty unhappy. This game, just I've seen this already by some other people. Occasionally overheats your PS5, and I did get that, unfortunately, on this one.
Like shutting down, or?
Yeah, so you get two types of errors with this game, just like Final Fantasy 16. I don't know if you remember, Final Fantasy 16 definitely had and so did Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Occasionally, it would just it just would occasionally happen. So what I got on this was, hey man, your PS5's too hot, and you can continue to play it, and if you do, there's a chance your PS5 is just going to be like, bye. And it did happen to me on this game twice, which is unfortunate, because my personal belief is that these consoles are on the raggedy edge, man. They feel like they're just they feel like they're the port of what Red Dead 1 would look like always ready to collapse. And we know there's issues with, do you do your vertical? Do you do it horizontal? Did the liquid metal move? Blah, 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 whatever. I've adjusted this 1,000 times. This is the second PS5 that's done it over the period of time. It's a known issue. It's not like this is magical. They have the alert there for this reason. It just bothers me, man. It's like I'll have PS or have the PC with an air cooler that's not even huge, and you as long as you don't try to push it too much, you never get that. It's like you get a console, you plug it in, you turn on that mode, and you're like, PlayStation's too hot. You're like, God damn, man. I mean, I know why they're doing it. They want that shit nailed.
They want to squeeze the
did
max.
You put your system on its side? It seems to stop it from eating. Bro, it started on its side. That was unfortunate. But
I have it on its side, and I've had it too. So.
Yeah, it's a thing, right? The thing is, I'm not dissing on Sony, I'm not dissing on Microsoft. I'm dissing on console makers as a whole. They fucking have a problem trying to push these things to that nth degree for that last bit of teraflops data that they can use as an ad point to just get you to gag down their bullshit prices. Sorry, but they're POSs when it comes to that. I hate it, man. It really infuriates me when a console that is taken care of in a cooled area overheats. It frustrates me.
Yeah, that definitely shouldn't happen. The same with
fuel-filled platypus says, try a 4090 with a 12-volt power connector. No, I'm not gonna.
Oh my God.
But I do get you. I've always preferred to keep my systems horizontal. I don't even I don't want a chance of it being knocked over. Oh, yeah. Your power supply needs to be cleaned. Sure. Yeah. No. It's a known issue. Knock it off.
This is now people like mind reading into your.
Dude, all you need to do is sacrifice a body, throw a child into the sun, rub it down with 4-leaf clovers. Listen, it's an issue they know about. They've mentioned it. Fight with them. Don't fight with me.
And it's not even like recent games trying to push the console, because we had it with what's it called? Not Rayman. What's the other one?
Spyro, Rayman, Prince of Persia.
No, one of the first PS5 exclusives that came out.
Oh my God,
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, I forgot all about
you know,
Ratchet
that game
Clank.
had lots of crashes.
Dude, did you hear about Tekken's crashes,
people.
Johnny? Tekken
No.
crashes. If you go online on the PS5, dev guys had it, and then I looked it up. I was like, maybe he's got a. I didn't
If you go
question
online.
it, but if you go online, there is a chance that the matchmaking had a bug, and I don't know if it's been patched this morning. But he was getting full crashes to the OS screen. You know, the list of games, just bang, right, just popping you right out of it. Yeah, I hate it. ACG, yeah, I sacrificed some tea leaves to the gods to keep PlayStation 5 from turning off from overheating. Good for you. That's what you need to do. Wannabe Dev says, nope, everyone still has it. Yeah. The Series S RAM is the problem. J Reaper, never going to live that down, bro. It's the evil RAM on the Series S. Everything's the cause of it. The winter cold here, I'm pretty sure it was caused by the Series S RAM.
Oh, wait, that was the Baldur's Gate thing? The RAM?
Wasn't only Baldur's Gate. You'll have people coming out of the woodwork and be like, the reason why tiles...
the RAM.
Yeah, it's all the RAM. Oregon Fresh said Phil should probably apologize for the PS5 overheating. That's a joke that will never get old. Were you in that chat when we were talking about that?
No.
So my joke is consistently, why is Phil apologizing for Starfield when it's Bethesda before they
or
bought
Redfall?
Or Redfall. So then we were like, we just went out and we were like, yeah, Phil's going to come out. He's going to apologize for Oregon's, cooling. He's going to apologize for he's going to apologize for the Nintendo Switch not coming out. Oh, speaking of that, Nintendo Switch 2, there's a little leak that they're going LCD, and I don't know if that's right. I just saw the leak this morning, but I found that was, I just don't know if I believe that, man. OLED has been such a magic battery saver. A magic saver for the picture quality on the Switch, for the picture quality on the Steam Deck. I hope this is a rumor that I saw and it turns out to be not true. It was like some company. Here we go. Bloomberg says Nintendo's next Switch is coming this year with LCD, but then they indicate it's this Omida company. Let me look here. Osaka-based Sharp company. Nope. Here we go. I can't. It's a company that reports on things, or a company that involves with tech. According to Omida analyst, there's an analyst, and he says it will launch with an 8-inch LCD screen. Do you feel that that's a huge step backwards? Because I do.
Yeah, I do, and I think it's also a mindset thing. People now have gotten used to their Switch OLED. Well, a lot of people have the Switch OLED. A lot of people have the Steam Deck OLED, and it's almost become like a standard.
Dude, it's interesting. I have a bunch of the handhelds, and Logitech has a LCD that is a fantastic screen, probably one of the best LCD screens. But obviously, OLED doesn't only just have a better screen for the most part if your brightness is high, but it is a battery saver. It is a battery saver. It is more, unless they've figured out, a way to do an LCD that still looks good and is better on battery. I just feel like that's a step backwards. So if that turns out to be true, Johnny, then bank on me being wrong on every other thing. There won't be social stuff. It'll still be shitty Joy-Cons, and we're just going to be screwed. It's going to be the Switch 2, and it's going to turn out to have all the problems I was hoping that they had reversed.
Well, I also think, we have precedent for going back from OLED to LCD in the Vita days. If you remember, the PS Vita started off as an OLED. And then they released a second version of it that was supposed to be a better version, but actually was just an LCD version.
And
everything
cheaper,
else was the
maybe?
same. No.
Was it cheap? No.
Oh, maybe it was like $10 cheaper. But it's like, yeah.
Dude, Nintendo, man, prove me wrong, man. I want Nintendo to be like, dude, here's our Switch 2. Prove us wrong, dude, right? Like, go forward in technology. I mean, it's rare that you see somebody say, here's our brand new fucking Tesla car. Let's go back to steam engines. What the fuck? Nobody does that.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a change, but it just feels like, man, let's do this. OLED is a battery saver, and battery is a big deal with handhelds. I want them to be efficient, and I'm so excited to see them have to deal with competition. But if they do an LCD that doesn't have something you and I aren't picking up on, which by the way is completely possible, then they're not effectively going with the with the competition. They're not stepping it up. Step up your game, Nintendo. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man. By the way, where's the Switch 2? Step up your game, you bitches. Let's get this thing out here, man. It's
Let's
time.
get this thing.
It's time. Dude, I'm pretty sure when I turned on the Switch originally, it was like Windows 98. That's how old that thing feels. Like, it's time, man. It's 7 or 8 years plus their fab time. Fuel Filled says, love the idea of these back-connected motherboards. What do you guys think? Here's the thing with motherboards. I do believe that's a thing. I think we're going to start seeing more of them switching all of their connectors to the back. I don't know about you, Johnny, and your new one. Is yours a normal style with everything's on the front, or is it starting to move some stuff to the back?
Yeah, it is on the front.
Oh, okay. What about M2? Do you have M2 on your motherboard? The M2 NVMe? Yeah. How many slots do you have?
All my drives are now M2.
Ooh, dude, you got the sexy speed there. Yeah. I remember we were helping a person upgrade their PC a couple days ago in the chat, and everybody was like, dude, you got your slots, man, get your NVMe. Luckily, I was in there, and I was like, wait, is it a bottom slot? Yeah. Do you have SATA ports connected to that? Yeah. Might want to look at your motherboard. And he did, and he was like, damn it. It'll turn off the... It's like, yeah, these companies love to sell you on something. It sucks, man. But once all this
it's
gets
complex too, because like every motherboard is different. For some, it's like, oh, if you put an SSD here, guess what? You can't have whatever.
Anything.
I can't have a capture card in there, like stuff like that you take for granted, and then you go in, you try to build your PC, and you find out, oh, I can't have all that.
Dude, I still know that when I bought that 4090 and I got that box at my house and I opened it up and I was like, this thing is a PS5. It's never gonna fit. And you look at it and you're like, all right, I have some slots that I'm using for PCIe. No, I don't. That fucking 4090 is going to eat up 2 of those slots. It's that big. I want the motherboard configuration to change. We've seen some motherboards doing the vertical, and changing where the PCI 16 is. That would be great, right? Get it so that you're not eating up all your space. We just had somebody who got an NVMe, I believe it was Lucitan, in our chat. He was all excited. Guess what? Heatsink smashes up against the video card. He's like, Jesus, now I got to figure that out. Just those things that we're at the point now where these companies are charging you $500 for a motherboard. Screw you, man. Fix your shit. We're past that point, man. Start to fix your shit. Also, I would love to see more and better connections at the front of motherboard, or at the front of PCs, because I have a side. How do I describe it? Does your PC face the front to you or the back? How do you have it set up? Do you see the wires, or do you have it set up so you're seeing the front? As a streamer,
well, I have two. One of them I see the front of. The other one I see the back. So I got both.
So do you know what I did? I just cheated and went halfway, and I have mine set side on. Yeah, because as a streamer, you're plugging into the back, you're adjusting your HDMI cable, but you also want the front because maybe you got your motherboard, or your keyboard, and you're like,
that's true. That's one of the reasons why I have that one where I see the back. It is because a lot of times I'm plugging. The other thing that I found is when I play guitar, if I have that computer close, it will like interfere with the pickups of the guitar. So that's why one of my computers is a bit further away, and it's like I just see the butt of it. Because if the side of it is facing the guitar, because it's a glass panel side, all of the electromagnetic stuff
so
goes
you're
right
getting
through the
actual
glass.
EMI right through the glass to you. Oh, I see.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Dude, It's so weird to know you because you're 15 years my junior or whatever, and I was dealing with this shit with the original ASIO shit. You know, you were plugging in and you were getting feedback, and the fact that you're still dealing with it is just such an indicator that no one's fixed shit. Now, admittedly, that's hard to fix. Obviously, I do get that, but that could go on the back, right? You know, there's things that you could do on the back where you're like, hey, maybe we could have some adjustments. But it is funny that you're sitting here talking about something that I was like, dude, I dealt with that on a Sound Blaster add-on.
You know
card
what's funny about that too
is
that I tried so many like high-tech solutions to fix that problem with the noise, with the interference. Like stuff where I plug in and it removes things from the signal, all this type of high-end solutions. You know, the only damn thing that worked in the end, moving the tower further away.
Yep.
It's the age-old solution.
It's the age-old solution. We have a patron level that's like, I'll help you with your channel, and I really do. I'm like, I'm going to sit down, and every time, the very first rule I have is rule number 1, never try to outbuy your way out of a problem. Ever. No. Do not do that. Do you know what I thought you were going to say? Another thing that fixes it sometimes is the little $4 EMI filters that go clamp, and all they are is filled with like magnet or whatever, and they stop that. It'll remove about 3 decibels of sound, but it'll even out your sound. I have line conditioners, bro, that I bought. I have ground lifts, ghost lift shit. I've got like magic. You know, this will remove your blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, do you know what will remove it? Removing the fucking PC from anywhere near you.
Physically remove the interference in the first place.
The interference.
Yeah. It's great.
That's awesome. Jumping back into chat real quick. Sorry, that's just the way we deal with things. We randomly do yak. Coolaban says, I got a third-party cooler for my PS5 for Christmas. But I was always kind of the mind these consoles have ample cooling. My God, man. I want to say thank you. I have not tried that. I think they're terrible, and I think the reporting on them is that they don't help, but I will look into that. I had always thought that the consoles have ample cooling. Do you think these third-party controllers could help? Again, I can't answer that, but I do appreciate you pointing that out. I'll look at it. For me, it was the vents on the PS5 supply being dusty. Yeah, Kiggery and Kigger, Bruce, whatever. I call him Kigger, but he was showing me the PS5 slots and the cooling slots, and you always forget that they're like this big. The amount of air getting in is terrible. Philippi says, honestly, ACG, thanks to the Series S, I've been able to filter out my Twitter feed from all the geniuses out there. I don't know what that means, but as long as you can filter Twitter, that's amazing. Coolaban says, I think you got 2 versions like the Steam Deck. Oh, the Switch 2. Maybe you get 2 options. 400 LCD, 500 OLED. No, let me tell you, that's terrible. And here's why. You're going to be paying less to have a battery that lasts less. That would make... That would be... Do you see what I'm saying? If you pay 400, but you have an LCD... No, because the Steam Deck shows... And you know me, I don't love the Steam Deck, but it shows that the OLED, one of the big benefits to the battery is using the OLED.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever get this is Reese, do you ever get overwhelmed with when there's a bunch of games you have to review? Absolutely not. Fucking love it. Dude, I love it, man. I love it. If I need to do an impressions, I'll do one. Man, I love having a bunch of games to review. I do miss playing with these guys, though. Johnny and I've done Remnant 2, we had a blast. He helped me with that. We did that review, so I love being able to play a multiplayer game with other people from the Discord. We've done a couple. We did Remnant 1. We did Remnant 2.
Back for Blood, World War Z.
Back for Blood. You and Reg
that Alien
poisoned me on Back for Blood. Remember? Because you guys did the beta.
Yeah, because initially it was really rough.
You guys were bad talking that before I got a chance to play. I'm not saying they were actually right, but it had some issues at the time. What other ones have we done together?
We done State of Decay. We did that. The one that had Earth in the name that was about aliens, similar to.
Oh my God! We played it with Azraelin and Takedown as well.
That was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed that game. Yeah, we had a great time on that.
Yeah, and I mean, World War Z, we played a bunch.
Dude, World War Z, I just replayed here recently with Turim and a bunch of other people. Fucking so good. I just love that game.
Is Enshrouded one of the games you might like come back to and play multiplayer and stuff?
Shrouded is inoffensive and therefore not remarkable. The chance of me returning to that would be about you guys, not the game. So if you
so
were
it'd
like,
be like,
hey,
there's a thing going on, like, okay, we're playing it.
Is I use you guys to feed that because my brain is fed with like PR and fucking bouncing all that stuff and trying to figure it out. So when you guys are like, hey, I want to play this, then I'll chalk out a time and it would be about you guys. Nothing against Enshrouded. It's just that it is a survival game, and those games are there to just make you be there. That's their thing. You are there. That's all they're about. So I don't want to be there anymore. Nothing against Enshrouded. I'm like, I had my time. But if you guys were to play, I would probably do so. Let's see. What else do we got? Looking through Discord. Let's look at some of the Discord questions. What are we at? We're at 1 hour, 45 minutes. We're doing good. All right, here we go. This is Lucitan. Champion of the Discord, probably one of the happiest people I've ever met. Lucitan has been a part of the Discord.
Always smiling. Just a ball of energy.
Reg and I were trying to remember an anime he suggested to me, so I looked through his chat with me, and we were taking all the pictures of Lucitan who's posted, and every picture of Lucitan, no lie, Lucitan would be like, on a vacation.
Yeah, he's cranky.
Won the lottery.
And like, no, that's me smiling, dude.
Love him. What's the appeal of going to work after finishing work? What's the appeal of going to work after finishing work you're working on? Survival games just feel like busy work. Oh, yeah. So you can have small amounts of fun. What's the appeal of a survival game? That's a really good. I get what you're saying. Like it's like playing Farming Simulator. Who the fuck wants to farm?
Yeah, or it's like games like Satisfactory where you have to, well, you don't have to, but a lot of the gameplay is optimizing your pipeline and looking for problems in your production line.
Yeah.
That could be viewed as busy work if you don't enjoy that type of stuff. But the reality is, for a lot of people, that is almost therapeutic because you get lost in it. It's like a, I don't know. I think some people find it engaging.
Yeah.
The type of people who like Factorio and all this,
It's funny too, because I don't love survival games, but I've liked some, and I have tried Factorio, and you and Reg played a bunch of Satisfactory, I believe. Or maybe it's the reverse. But I can't get into those for whatever reason as much as you guys can. Probably the German efficiency in Reg, I have no clue. There's something about, like, he likes, and you like it, which is funny, because I was watching you guys stream. By the way, worst team fucking dynamic.
Oh my God. Ever. I was trying to get something done. If it's Satisfactory you're talking about.
It is Satisfactory I'm talking about. When I watched you guys stream that, and you were on opposite ends of the world.
Reg was just doing
like
his own
6 minutes.
thing. I was like, trying to listen. We got this project. I'm doing this thing.
Yeah, it was Johnny's own version of Vietnam, man. That was awesome, man. I had a great time watching you guys. Yeah, those games. So
like automation, that type of stuff doesn't speak to you that much.
No, and when I see Satisfactory, I think that's the one that has the Steam page where it shows these trams and it's beautiful.
Yes,
blah blah blah, and then I build something and it's a fucking box on a boulder, and I'm like, you get almost like performance anxiety, and now you're like, my base isn't as good as somebody else's base. How long did that take? And then you find out how long it took, and you're like, I don't know. You guys, No Man's Sky. I mean, I'm telling you, Absy and I played a lot of No Man's Sky, and the best base we built, Johnny, was a bunch of single-room buildings with the items that were needed. It was
just
tremendous.
Like utilitarian.
Oh man,
functional.
Functional, barely. But it was. I'm just not that kind of gamer. What about survival games for you? What's one that grabbed you? Like the underwater one, Subnautica. What grabbed you with Subnautica, but then didn't grab you with another one?
Yeah, so Subnautica is the mix of base building, which I really loved, and the pushback of the survival systems was good. It felt good because it was the right mix. Things like hunger and thirst were very easy problems to solve.
Okay,
because you
that makes
could
sense.
get better solutions to those things over time, so that you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But things like the environment and monsters became increasingly more dangerous, and the pushback there became, greater as you kept playing. I think that's one of the main things. I like the mix of building stuff for a reason, because in Subnautica you build bases because you need to, like you're getting functionality
Right.
out of the stuff you build. Like you had lots of different things. And then the other thing that I love is some type of transport. And there's something magical, to like get around in the world.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So, it could be a horse. But what I love about Subnautica is that you had the big sub, and then you have the small sub that docks into the big one. For me, there's something magical about the docking. It comes back, it's something primal from childhood. I used to have these toys that, docked in that way. There's something about like a smaller vehicle docking into a bigger one that's like amazing. So it kind of
have
just
a dock fetish.
came together there. They got a docking fetish.
Oh man, that's
deeply ingrained.
That is wrong because it means something. It's funny though that you mentioned that, because I do get really attracted to like a space game where I have a freighter and a smaller ship inside.
Yeah.
And you squirt
No Man's
out
Sky
that
did it
baby
with the
ship,
freighter.
and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
No Man's Sky. Yeah. No Man's Sky had
because
the
you could
freighters.
build in the freighter different rooms, and you could just park your entire fleet in there. That was super cool.
You could dock your fleet in there. Dock. Okay,
Dock
anyway.
right in. Yeah.
Neil Campbell, $2 super chat. Missed you guys. Hi from Scotland. What's up, brother man? Glad you could join us. I did just get informed by a bunch of people they didn't get notifications of the podcast. Listen, I can't control that. I swear to God, those guys just they also sorry, my dog. You and I shut up, butter. You and I were doing we've done a couple podcasts, and then Abzi and I did ones with Suicide Squad, and they all got demonetized instantly. And I was like, okay, so it's Suicide Squad, they have an issue. But then I was like, are you telling me that YouTube is so dumb that they can't figure out Suicide Squad is not suicide? Like, are we that backwards in technology? So I removed it and changed them.
I know what you mean.
They stayed demonetized, but like I was saying, I don't know. Sometimes people don't get the alerts. That's just the way it is. What other survival games have we enjoyed, whether together or let's see, Valheim?
Yeah, it's a
Did
good
you like
question.
Valheim?
I liked Valheim to some extent, but then again, the combat felt crap. Right, I enjoyed it. I think I mostly enjoyed it for playing with a couple friends and building some stuff. I think at the end of the day, I like building. I'm just kind of coming to the conclusion that that's, I think, the cornerstone of a good survival game is having some good building.
Does it have to have a cost, though? If I gave you unlimited building supplies, I bet you would not be as interested. Does that make sense?
That's true. But I also hate punching trees all day. Well, I think one thing there is there needs to be a progression, and that's why I also like automation in those games.
Oh, right.
Which is like, maybe you start punching trees, but guess what? Then you can build a pipeline where, you're getting your materials maybe automatically, right? And stuff is coming to you because you have a smart system to get stuff. That's why I think Minecraft was really genius, because you have many ways of automating things.
I think aliens, when they come down and look at our games, they're going to be like, these bitches hated trees, man. Because every game, you're just beating the shit out of an oak tree. Man, every time.
And even like looking at people play Palworld and stuff, I just got like a tension.
Yeah.
Like down there, like, oh, I'm punching trees again. Like,
yeah.
And
it's just
man.
Over and a
like
lot.
I was watching a friend play, and she was back and forth punching those trees, dude. it was hours of like,
dude, yeah, we hate wood, man.
Oh.
It's like they're gonna say, hey, they deforest all the trees. They're video games, they fucking hate trees. There's apparently a anti-tree agenda, big anti-tree agenda that's going on in these games. Yeah, dude, it's funny because survival games, I agree with you. I love the exploration. It's like it's like Power Washer. There's an exploration of the shiny metal underneath the dirty one. And you get to it, you clean it, and you see like a muffler that was dirty, and you get to say like, I see this. That's what I like about survival games. But then it wears thin, because after a while I'm like, this is another mountain, but it's another mountain, right? And so you have that initial burst. But then I know some of my friends who are still playing Valheim, whatever, 2 or 3 years down the road, and I'm like, damn, dude, you do realize like that's the same mountain every time. Like, it is, but they enjoy it. There's something about it that's awesome that everybody can experience that. But yeah, for me, I like that first initial burst, though, man. Valheim, Minecraft for weeks for Minecraft. I definitely enjoyed the shit out of Minecraft, man. And I don't know about you. Apparently, my building ability never gets better, ever. I started out in that game digging a trench and covering my head with dirt to hide. And when I was done, after 5 weeks, I was still simply covering my head with some dirt and waiting for... So it's like, dude, I don't know, man. I'm not smart. I can't do it. Bobby Hawk, have you got a copy of Dragon's Dogma 2? If I did, I wouldn't tell you. Or probably couldn't.
Ooh, down.
It is funny because you'll hear... I just saw a weird article. I think it was talking about Suicide Squad. They were like, oh, Suicide Squad codes haven't come out. The average is 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay. Dude, I don't know what kind of disinformation... Like, what campaign of disinformation...
Average based on what? Like...
Dude, it's so dumb when you... It's not an average, man. They're like, it just depends on the game. I don't know if people have got codes for it. And if I did, I couldn't say it. But... if Dragon's Dogma code was out today, I would not be doing the podcast.
You'd be playing that.
Dude. Sorry, Johnny, I love you. But if Dragon's Dogma 2 code was... I would be like, I've got a cough. But I'd be like, COVID's still holding me down, man. Yeah. Hey,
you know that meme of it's the boyfriend with the girlfriend, but he's looking backwards towards another girl?
You guys would be the podcast.
Dragon's Dogma. Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma. I'll be like...
Yeah, you're like, how you doing?
Dude, it's so true. I'm hoping I'm not setting myself up for failure, and that game turns out to not be what I think it'll be, right? Where you play it and you're like, wah, wah. But, yeah.
Nah, I think it'll be good. I
think so, too. Reese says, when can we expect a review from Suicide Squad? If people can talk about it, you will see that posted. I think with reviews, just so everybody knows, a lot of companies are very open about saying when your embargo is, and some are not. And if you think it's the quality of the game, I got another thing, to tell you. It's not. I've seen Sony have some baller games, and not only can you not talk about it, but that code is day one. Like 2 hours prior to the game coming out. It is, I couldn't tell you what arcane magic rituals these companies use to decide. We just saw Tekken, a phenomenal game, have completely different, review times. Yeah, it makes no sense. All right, let's look back in. Sorry, I'm trying not to hack up on this podcast. Turim. What's up, Turim? By the way, I do want to shout out Turim, too. These are the people who help the... fucking Discord's awesome, man. Patron Discord's awesome. He's been helping me take chat notes so that I can, use them to make shorts and possibly put them in the YouTube. So big thanks to him. Horizon Forbidden West is coming PC March 24th. Dude. What do we got? What's the percentage of a chance this is a good port? Give me an honest Johnny, no bullshit assessment.
I think the last one had some issues.
It did.
On launch. Took some time to get fixed up, but they did fix it up pretty nicely. Yeah, I would definitely expect some friction.
Some friction.
In the first week.
That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
So some friction. So meaning
it's like you have an engine, but it's like the gears aren't fully like connecting.
They're not the right gears for the engine. Like you're
not
like
the right
revving
gears.
a little
It's
high.
like there's a crease every time it goes about.
I like the idea of friction. Like, and by the way, I don't think you mean friction like every game. You know, there's always going to be some bug or whatever. But I get what you mean. Like, I also
more like
think they've learned.
You try to play, but it's almost like it pushes back a little, where maybe it crashes the desktop and you have to restart. Or
it's the hard to get girl, man.
There's something that pulls you out and you need to change between full screen, borderless. Yeah.
Oh God.
What'd you say?
Or, I said it's like that hard to get girl, where you're like, you know, she likes you, you like her, but she's, you know, or guy, where they're hard to get, and you're like, dude, I'm getting some return here, but I need a full buy-in here. I need a full buy-in.
Yeah,
I do feel that my huge hope is that Sony, they bought their port company, they did all this. My huge hope, and like any company, is that they churn away, and they're like, this is the second with this engine. No, it's the third, because Deny is also Death Stranding, same engine. So my hope is that they learn and that we don't have the issues. I think that Horizon Zero Dawn had a couple issues. It wasn't terrible. It was nowhere near what some other games have been. But I hope they've learned. Dude, did you see Skull and Bones had a roadmap for their first year?
No.
Can I just say it's weird that the roadmap isn't just release the fucking thing? Right?
They're taking that for granted.
Dude, do a JPEG and be like, what's our roadmap? Get it out. Fucking it in hand. Like, what? Dude, worry about the roadmap. We're not even... This game.
Yeah. Is
Dude,
that
I didn't have a
like...
beard when this game was shown.
Wow, you always had a beard, let's be honest.
Right. Yeah, true. But what were you going to say? Sorry.
You slid right out of the womb.
I did. I slid out of mom's vagina. She was like, that was scratchy. And I was like, sorry, man. I was in there for a long time. 9 months.
That's not okay.
It isn't okay. It's pretty gross. But anyway, what were you going to say? Sorry. I interrupted you. Do you even remember what you were going to say?
That totally derailed me.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's all good. It'll come back to me.
It will, and it'll probably be incredibly insightful as always. And I've ruined it with my stupid one-liner about birthing.
I think it will be very insignificant.
That's honest. That's honest. That's honest, Johnny, for you. Let's see what else. Layoffs. Let's talk about the layoffs.
Oh yeah, sorry, it was Skull and Bones. I was gonna say, is that the Star Citizen syndrome a little bit, where they have such a feature creep?
No.
Because they keep like adding more.
It's been pirates
milestones
on boats since day one. There's no feature creep. It has to have a
True,
feature to have.
We never got pirates on the boat.
We never got the pirates on the boat yet.
Yeah, true.
Dude, it's fucking ridiculous. And by the way, I want to play it, and I hope it's good. But come on. No, it's not Star Citizen. That is a disgraceful, insignificant comment from you. I'm just joking. No, it's not.
Because in a way, Star Citizen, you can argue, sure, they keep expanding their scope. That is true. But at the same time, they have delivered on, a lot of the things they set out to do initially. It's just that they kept increasing the scope, right? But yeah, no,
boy,
you're right.
did they. Game Dev says, I think my building abilities are regressing in survival games. And here's why I agree with him. If you build a big whatever in one game, there's a chance you will realize this was egregious. I went over the top, but it's amazing looking. But then the next game, you know what is needed, and you're like, it can be more difficult to rebuild that massive cathedral when you realize you just need a box of dirt. And I got to tell you, as somebody who knows like the utilitarian of something, I'm like, the box of dirt wins 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and I think to some extent, our beautiful childish creativity has been punched down.
We punch kids. It's true. We're punching kids.
Just punched down, just like dicked down by
Yep.
by the jankiness of games. Because I had this I don't know, enthusiasm to make a tree house in a game.
Right.
But guess what? It was janky as hell. And in the next game, I didn't try to do it because I didn't think it would work. I tried to build a underwater base in No Man's Sky. None of it worked. It got flooded, and I lost my entire base. Guess what? My creativity got dicked down. So the next game, I'm not trying an underwater base. I'm like bringing down my expectations, and yeah, we're back to the box with with the dirt on top.
Dude, it's so funny because in my brain, it's like it's me as an adult and a bunch of somehow baby me's who look identical going, hey, we got a cool idea, and me just going, fucking boom.
Each of those got shut down. Like...
Yeah, and they're like, treehouse, kick them in the balls. Even though they look exactly like me, they're just little baby versions.
That guy's manifesting creativity.
Yeah,
kick him in the nuts.
Thinking? The kid's like, I got an idea. Fuck your idea. Boom. And just knock the kid down. And in the end, I'm in a little dirt tower that is just like 2 feet taller than me, because that's all I need. And just kids are trying to come in. I'm like, nope. Get your stupid idea out of here. It is true, dude. It is true that, and even if you succeed in some games, you've built some great, crazy stuff. I've seen it, but your adult self says, I got time to waste. There's 10 games. Not time to waste. Sorry, I don't have time to waste. I got 10 games. I just need a shit-filled hovel. That works.
Yeah, and in some games, building is so insulary, like it's a secondary thing. Like the game doesn't push you to build. Like I think based on what I've seen of Enshrouded, is you can pretty much get away with building like nothing.
Yeah.
And just go out and explore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whereas, like I was saying in the example of Subnautica, you actually need some stations for certain things.
That's what I meant by the way, about if I gave you unlimited creativity or unlimited resources, would you even build?
Because that's the issue with creative mode. I never enjoy creative mode because it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like cheats, I guess.
That need creates all of the like desire to become efficient. And if there isn't that need, if you don't need to do anything or become efficient, the real efficiency is almost masturbatory. Not in a bad way, but like in a I just want to there's nothing wrong with that creativity, but if every game's got a creative mode and you exist in a time scale with everybody else, you can't do 10 games. So you choose one, and that's the one you masturbate in. I know that sounds gross, but that's the only way I could think of saying it. Let's move on from there. The Sign of the True Gamer podcast. Nah, Dragon's Dogma 2. Yes, please. You're right, Oregon. I would completely ignore everything for that game. Let's see what else. I wish Skull and Bones looked better. Do you mean better? Or do you mean more? Because I don't think it looks. Graphically, the ships and the explosions I thought looked. Well, maybe he does mean better. I don't know. Yeah, it does look pretty old. Let's see. Hey, Karak, glad you got your electricity back. Hope you're feeling better. Thank you. Just thought I'd disclose that information about Palworld. I don't know. What are you guys talking about? People are talking about weird shit. I can't say. I'm also looking forward to the Tomb Raider trilogy remasters. It's been a long time. Oh, there is a remaster of that. Man, yeah.
Is it like the very old ones? The triangular
It's the old
boobs?
ones. Yeah, triangual boobs, I believe. Yeah, they look like fucking... They look like just noses huge. The guy from It Takes Two or whatever that I used to tease. I'm sorry.
Hey.
It was on me. I didn't know that.
It's true, though.
Abbreviated Reviews points out something that is absolutely true, but I think also a hard bar, which is the water looked better in Sea of Thieves. The water in Sea of Thieves looks better than real water.
Some dark magic.
Dark. That game looks primo. It looks so good. Alone in the Dark remake seems underwhelming to me. Alone in the Dark remake does... There's a lot of horror games, a lot of single-player, tremendous-looking games. It is going into a genre that is primo, right? It's like maybe they have something going for them, but man, it's a hard genre to enter right now. graphically, you're going against Naughty Dog, or you're going against who's another horror? Maybe not that many, but you're going against one of the premieres. It's hard. Imagine doing a superhero game, Blade. Blade's got to hold up against Wolverine, which we don't know how that looks, but it's got to hold up against Spider-Man.
Yeah,
but, you know. Oh, dude, yeah, man. Can you imagine? Let's say, what's another spider swing? What's another like swinging character? Well, this happened with Batman. Yeah, Spider-Man swings, not swinging, not swinging in that way. No, yeah. But I was looking at Batman, and I was like, hey, a Arrow game would be cool because I like Arrow. I don't know why. But really, Arrow is just a really snootier version of Batman. I mean, it's all gadgets, and
the way he would move in the city is kind of like...
Yeah, but it would be Batman, and Batman looks amazing even now. I was looking at Arkham Knight, dude.
Yeah.
The game.
Because actually, when I think about it, Arrow didn't have any, like, means of transport, right? He got around just by that ass running.
He was just like that ass, and not only that, but he killed people, which was a huge bonus for me. I love that.
Didn't they change that later on?
And reverted back. He killed people later. Yeah, he had the moment of conscience where you're like, okay, am I killing too many people? And as a superhero, I would say no, kill more. But nobody agrees with me. They want him to be like, oh, he steps above. He takes him to jail. Which I said this in Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man should kill people. Because, dude, Spider-Man 2's entire reason for being as a game is because he fucked up and Spider-Man 1 didn't kill everybody. Come on.
It feels like every movie, it's that, like, some old villain that's behind bars, like, escape.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, God, Spider-Man, drop him off the roof, accidentally break his back. Well, Batman did that.
I don't know, like, get some better prisons, man, because those guys are just chilling in Arkham. Like, Arkham is a party, dude.
Arkham's a party. They go there to have a good time.
They're hanging.
Even Gotham, which I loved. You're like, come on. This is the worst idea ever. Put them to work building some items for Batman.
And you play, like, Batman Arkham Asylum, and, like, bad guys have layers, dens.
Yeah. I love it, by Arkham, the way, but you are right that you're like,
it's like, come on, guys.
Or the prison has a massive like forest in the center, and you're like, dude, does anybody find any of this remotely disturbing? But no, I love it. Eternal says, as great as they are, the problem I have with new Resident Evil games is they always go ball to the walls action during the second half. They never commit to the scary side part. Yeah, Resident Evil's definitely gone the action route, but it seems like it's paying off. People loved Village.
Yeah.
And I think that you could even say in a way, I'm going to sneeze. You could say in a way that 7 even did the same thing and got pretty action-packed. But they've always been...
7, 4. I think they've always been like that.
Yeah. After maybe 2?
The pace has always been,
Maybe? Yeah.
Oh, because 2, maybe. But 2, you still have this pacing formula, which is it starts pretty slow, and you have all the puzzleage elements in sort of like beginning and middle of the game.
I just want to make sure everybody heard that. The puzzleage.
The puzzleage.
I'm using that in a review. Trademark TM Johnny.
Some
Johnny
good puzzleage.
Dude, this game's got some great puzzleage, man. That sounds really questionable depending on what you're showing on the screen. Alex, do you recommend Skull and Bones open beta? No. I mean, I don't know. Is there an open beta in Skull and Bones?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't know. But if there is, you should check it out. Hey, you can decide if you want to buy it. SBZ says that's why Punisher's the GOAT. Yeah, Punisher's awesome. Banned from YouTube, not banned from YouTube. $5 super chat. Significant other, Abzy would say prototype. Yeah. Abzy's love for prototype is probably
only rivaled by yours for Dragon's Dogma. Probably.
I was gonna say something bad and be like, is the only reason I didn't immediately hire him to come to the podcast. But your answer is nicer.
We'll go with that.
Prototype is such a rough, dirty, clumsy, grimy,
like
non-special game.
type thing.
I think diamonds in the rough have to have a diamond. It's just rough.
It's like the rough part without the
where you think that the pressure has created a diamond and it's just the rough. You're like, there's no diamond here. I don't know what abs he's seeing. He distinctly likes that. Soulskeeper, $24 super chat. Gents, tuning in late. Apologize if I already covered Karak. Hope all is well despite the Rona and the outages. At least all hours in Mad Max have paid off in these last few days.
The survival, man.
So true, man. I was joking about that on the Twitter and in the Discord. It is for sure straight up Mad Max here at times. I saw 2 people fight over a gas can in real life. I did see that.
That's when you know shit is regressing. Like, people start fighting about, like, for
Johnny,
basic resources.
I saw the one guy do the thing where, like, he was getting ready to swing a gas can, which, by the way, would, full assault. Like, that's, like, straight up. It's not the movies. Like, that would have been called in. But I remember thinking, man, this is only 7 days.
Yeah.
We're only 7 days in.
Deteriorating pretty quickly.
This is the Last of Us after 7 days of cold. And a bunch of people still had electricity. If we're there after 7 days, 14... it's over. It's over. Yeah, it was a weird moment. But thank you very much. Yeah, things are going good. I'm here with Johnny, having a good time talking about games because Dragon's Dogma is not out. Next up, the Layoffs. We were going to mention it, then we jump back to Skull and Bones. So let's talk about the Layoffs. It fucking sucks, man. 1900 throughout Activision, Call of Duty. I think all their teams took a huge hit. Tech sector's taken a huge hit. You and I have talked about this because you're in tech, Absy's in tech, Reg is in tech. Pretty much everybody in my Discord is in some way, it feels like, in the tech sector. Wannabe dev, who I've been talking a bunch with lately about life and stuff like that. They're doing layoffs. The big problem also is just, Johnny, no one's hiring, man. Right? Like, I mean, I'm not talking about in real life where somebody says there's no jobs and you walk by a wanted, we need people poster. I'm talking about in the tech, they're laying off and no studios. You're not hearing that, here's this studio coming up.
It's also kind of ugly because different regions are being affected in different ways. So one thing you're seeing sometimes is they're getting rid of people in, for example, the United States, because developers are at a premium in the US. The salaries are way higher than most other countries, for example, for developers. Yeah. But they're very low in other countries like India, Philippines. And so what you're seeing a lot too is, you're getting rid of headcount in the United States, and then you're back hiring, you're backfilling from, Philippines, India, and stuff like that. So it is like kind of like what you're saying, that the person that lost their job in, for example, the US, they're actually having a hard time because others are not backfilling from people in the US. So it's like the demand is lower too for people. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, and I mean, efficiencies. I was trying to explain this to somebody. So community managers get hit. Have certainly in the last 5 years, I feel I see community managers for games getting hit a lot. And so when I know community managers for tech groups, not the games development, but tech groups, we've laid off a couple in my old job because 1 or 2 using tools that have become more efficient can do the job of 5. And I'm like, that especially community, like forum posting where you have all these automated tools. You have the same tools I use, like Hootsuite or whatever, for tracking your Twitter and your Facebook and blah, blah, blah. That used to be such a, dude, I remember hiring for that job. Hiring Johnny for that job was far more difficult than hiring for a top level developer, because that person needed tech and social skills, which admittely we weren't hiring for social skills for the tech part. So when you were hiring somebody for a social media job or a media, those media connections, it was different. And man, they're getting just destroyed. And it's like every day I wake up, 1,900 from Microsoft, but then last year they laid off. Sony's destroyed some companies. Not destroyed, I don't mean it that way. They've shuttered some companies as well and done layoffs as well in a different way, it seems like, but still layoffs. I know the Concrete Genie was a dev. They're gone. They did it with Drive Club, which is years ago, but we see it with everybody. Nintendo, not so much. That was one thing that was brought up to me today, was it doesn't seem like Japan has been having the same issues. I don't know how they do things there either. Do they move people? Do you not hear about it? Is it not socially like what it is here, where we complain, rightfully so, instantly on Twitter? Do they have a different mentality? I don't know, but it feels like, fuck, Johnny, every time I wake up, I'm like, first thing I check is like, all right, so like, who got laid off? And then Indio just said something I want to also point out. He said, I was surprised Riot laid a bunch of people off. I thought Valorant and LOL were doing fine. So did I. So some layoffs are because continual development. You've talked about this. You build that team, that's maybe 100 people, maintenance 75, and then continued life 50 people maybe are needed, maybe even 25, maybe even 10, depending on what you're doing. So I don't know if that's what it is. Does that mean those games aren't continuing with as much development now too? That could be what it is. But man, I know they do well, but it's also possible that it's all about reducing cost margins, right? This is the big trend in the industry. It's like, can we do the same with less? So yeah, I mean,
it might just be that.
I was made redundant for that very thing. So I had a job that was that job. It was only that job. And when I was laid off, I was getting good money at the time, but I was laid off because they were able to get somebody who did the 2 jobs below and a bit of that job. And they took my entire thing and sort of, boom, it like exploded in this shrapnel effect, and everybody got a little bit of it. And when I was there, 120 people. It wasn't a huge company, but now it's like 30. And do they do as much? No. Many of them are in maintenance modes or but they're not in the full build modes. But even their build mode was handled different. When I was there and we were building, it was like hire whoever, ASAP. Like hire, it doesn't matter. Like, get them in. We'll pay them this. We're going to pay for their schooling. Blah blah blah. And now it's like, we'll just sort of jury rig it. We'll sort of move some people around. There isn't as much flexible money in that entire industry now.
Yeah.
Man, it fucking sucks.
I think also the US is a bit easier to fire people. It sounds bad, but it's just that I think there is less like severance and stuff like that for people.
That depends. I agree for sure, but there also are different systems, including your unions, including
that could help. If there are unions.
I don't even think, by the way, just so you know, a lot of the firings aren't just US. These are worldwide studios.
They are,
Yeah, so it's not, I mean, and in fact, some of the big shutterings we've seen weren't US studios at all. They were completely, so I know what you're saying, but we've gone well past any kind of like...
it is affecting everybody. I'm just based on my company, we're seeing it more in America than UK, Europe, and Asia. Those areas
what's
are
your
like...
software, or what's your genre, I guess, for software?
It's a financial software. It's what's called the fintech sector. So it's basically a competitor to Bloomberg.
No shit. I was not aware of that. Abbreviated Indio says maybe evergreen games aren't generating as much revenue, and or they're chasing the next viral Palworld. I actually think it's less the latter and more the former, where there's also, you and I have talked about this, where if you have 10 free-to-play games, 3 service games, 2 MMOs, and a new game, there's a chance there's not enough people. And then there's a very good, I'm going to read through it before I post this, but there's a very good article suggested on Twitter that's, I mean, it's like 40 pages of numbers, and tracking data for gaming. But one of the things they point out is something that is very important, which is that if a person is playing a free-to-play game or an older game, Guild Wars, let's say, Guild Wars is multiplayer. So if they pull me into Guild Wars, I am not buying the new game. I'm playing Guild Wars. So it is a knock-on effect that is now continuing. And this was brought to fruition really weirdly last week, the week before last. A bunch of people were playing a new game, but then I started seeing them all drop. And it was Guild Wars. And when they were all playing Guild Wars, I was like, are you guys going to get this new game? No, we'll play Guild Wars. We'll maybe get that later. I was like, oh, interesting. Because Guild Wars is like, by the way, I'm not picking on Guild Wars. It happened to get an update, which was paid, by the way, I believe. But I was just looking at it going, oh, shit, you know, there's not two versions of this person, you know. And they were telling their friends to play Guild Wars versus Last of Us, the remake. So you have to look at that too. Like, we pull people to whatever we enjoy. And if we're enjoying a game like the finals, which is free to play, I'm not blaming consumers. I'm saying the actual money isn't being spent into the industry, which is starting to get more and more because these free to play games are good. Finals is great. And I didn't spend a cent on finals, and I have 40 hours in it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome to see.
Well, it is, but is it? I guess is my thought. Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, I love it as a value proposition, but as a economics proposition, if everybody's doing the old stuff.
I feel that because, because I like League of Legends, there are times where if I'm playing that, it becomes difficult to also play, like a single player game sometimes. Yeah. And most times I'm opting towards playing a single player game or, a recent game. But yeah, there are times where
it's hard to bounce. ACG, are the layoffs being replaced by AI? No, I haven't even heard a single thing about that. I do think next week Microsoft announces, if this article is right, it was a different article, said something like this will be the first time Microsoft announces their financials with the Activision Blizzard connection in it. Is it possible that Microsoft has to say, yeah, we know our data's or our numbers are bad, but we just laid off some people, so we're gonna return? Was this preemptive? It just sucks. It's like so many people, and some of it, the Activision Blizzard thing is done, so there's some overlap, but not in some of these sections. Like, what the hell? It's just
a
weird.
Huge number.
It's huge. It's just, and it's going to continue, dude. It's like, I don't see, and the brain drain sucks because a lot of gamers start in those spots. Developers, sorry, they start as a community manager or whatever, and then they become a gamer. Reg started on a podcast about video games, and he's making his own game. If that's not like a perfect example of somebody, building up from that spot, there isn't a better one. It's just like, where would he go? Like, if he looked and said, I can't make any money, or it's going to cost me a ton, not be fun because everything is terrible right now, then he's not going to be building a game. It's just, it's terrible. MS layoffs, probably just regular consolidation. No, it's definitely not just regular. I mean, some of it is for sure, but Jesus, they're in completely, like, off the wall secondary spots. Sucks.
Yeah, it's like full on chopping off limbs,
Yeah, man. Call of Duty, somebody was saying, is it possible Call of Duty will be ruined? And it's weird, Johnny, because I feel like I always hear Call of Duty's already ruined. So it's this odd thing of like, I don't know what.
Yeah, but it still sells really well, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's just, I feel like people will.
They wouldn't let that go. They want to still cash on that.
Yeah. But I mean, they've done. How many Call of Duty free-to-play games are there now? There's at least 2.
Free-to-play? Oh, the big
mode, battle royales.
Yeah. Yeah, there are
Try to
3
get
or
them on the
4.
microtransaction side, I guess. Sucks. There isn't much more to say. I mean, it's like the number here is 5,000 people have been laid off already in 2024. And that's just the gaming industry, by the way. I want to make sure that's clear. Yeah. That's a lot. This is just the gaming industry. Obviously, other industries, just as bad.
Yeah, it's harder to get a new job too after, like you were saying, because not everybody's hiring, everybody's hiring. Not many people. So.
MK Bandit says Apple has announced changes to iOS Safari and the App Store in the European Union. Apple basically getting away with Unity's install fee as part of opening up app stores. I don't know what this means exactly. Do you do Apple iOS devices of any kind?
No. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for that, man. I didn't see that post, and I don't do enough with Apple to know what that means, other than it sounds bad.
Do you think they're doing something with the VR goggles? Because I haven't heard a single damn thing about the Apple Vision. It's kind of like the PSVR 2.
It's selling. We just talked about layoffs, right? And money and all that stuff. And it's selling at such a premium that it's so far beyond me. And I'm a premium VR guy. I wouldn't buy it anyway. But, dude, the amount of money for some of these things, you're just like, dude, who's this? Other than like Saudi oil money, old British families, Russian oligarchs, who's buying?
CEOs who are taking meetings from
who are
home.
taking, right. Right. I mean, if you look at the Quest, that made sense. The Quest was like, this is a business headset, the Quest Pro in particular. It's like, and it was at a cost point that was still expensive. But then you have Quest 3, which is pretty cheap. And to me, the idea of doing an Apple for like a business meeting versus a Quest, like why? Why would I could buy 10 Quest devices. If you're an Apple person,
maybe, like you're bought into the ecosystem and you're like, hey.
Bought in.
I wanted to.
Perfect word.
Bought in, yeah.
Dude, I hate them. Jared says, what game would you like to see switch from platformer to open world, or reversed, go from a open world to a platform?
Prince of Persia.
It did a really good job. The new one is great.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, but I kind of wanted like an adventure game,
I see. Contentious.
It's cool though. I mean, I like the Metroidvania stuff. It's just I struggle with those games with the backtracking. That's always the make or break. If the backtracking sucks, then I'm gonna lose interest. You need a good maybe quick travel thing, and I think Prince of Persia has it. But
Prince of Persia has a lot. I played it a bunch. I watched Game Dev play it a bunch. He beat it, and it's done pretty well. But there's still that moment where you're like, God, another room that I've seen entering in a different side of for the 40th time, and your brain sort of dies out. Yeah, I get that. I think Prince of Persia is surprisingly good. The honest truth is, when I heard that this one was coming out, I was like, uh-oh.
It's a stinker.
It might be a stinker. We haven't heard much about it, and it turned out to be great. So
yeah, I will try it this week and see what's try up.
You're doing Uplay Connect or
I have Uplay Plus.
Uplay Plus. Let's see. Jesus Crust. In honor of the winter storm, what's everyone's favorite or most memorable snow moment in a game, and why is it Red Dead 2? Jesus.
Oh man, it's memorable for the wrong reasons.
Jesus. Yes, it is. Anyway, continue. What's a good snow game where you're like, man, this is sweet. This is what I want, and I'm gonna fix my camera real quick. Continue.
Good snow.
Yeah, something that like you really liked the snow. Like, what about old games like platformers or like Ratchet and Clank, like those ancient ones?
I'm trying to think if any stuck with me.
Damn, no positives, really? No, like nothing that immediately shakes your bacon. That you're like, man, this is awesome. I like this one.
I'm trying to remember if Last of Us 2 had a snow, or if I'm mixing it up with another game. I think there was some snow.
Last of Us 2 had snow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm not mixing it up. Yeah, there is some good segments with snow in Last of Us 2. That's right.
Spider-Man.
I think that's a pretty good one.
Not Spider-Man. Horizon Zero Dawn. The Forbidden Wests was good. Man.
Rise of the Tomb Raider. Someone said had some good snow.
Man, that was good. Lost Planet's great. Lost Planet's prior to Johnny's time, I think. Lost Planet would have been.
Yeah,
Johnny
I
would have
haven't
been
played
a little tiny wee kappa at that point. I think you would have been. I
don't know. I'm from '88, so is the game that old?
No, you would have played it, or you could have played it then, because it was 2000.
Well, maybe, but I was also slow to start on games. So
I thought you were just gonna stop at I was also slow, and I was like, wow, that's pretty honest. I was pretty slow. It took me a couple of years to really get my brain going. Rise was phenomenal. Yeah, so Uncharted 2.
Yeah.
Yep, Uncharted 2. Halo Snow Levels. Yeah, Halo was great. All those were good. SnowRunner. Oh, come on. That's such a cheat answer. Come on. Come on. God damn. I should have put a warning on there. What else do you have? Johnny's got Yakuza Gaiden. You completed that. Tekken 2, Last of Us, Grand Blue Demo. Did you do Grand Blue Demo?
Yeah.
And?
I hated it.
Like Jasant hated it? I'm just joking. You didn't hate Jasant.
I dislike the way people speak, the storytelling, the tone. It's very childish, which, maybe I'm being cynical and I'm old, and it's like, okay. But that type of storytelling, where it's, the sort of kids' fantasy, where like, oh, we must rescue the princess.
Yeah.
Darn it. It's I don't.
Dang nabbit.
I can't.
Yeah.
I just lose interest immediately. However, the art is quite nice. I will give them that. And they do have a real-time combat thing that's pretty cool. It works, I would say, pretty well based on the demo. But I don't like anything about the story and stuff. It seems like very cookie cutter fantasy type stuff.
This is a loaded question, but what differentiates Grand Blue from Persona?
Because Persona deals with some pretty mature themes.
Okay.
Like,
it's fair.
Abuse, mental health.
Right.
Addiction, things like that. Even though, there are childish moments and they are ultimately children. The tone of a lot of the conversations is fairly mature. It's at least teenager level. Whereas this is the type of fantasy that I would see as a kid on the TV, in cartoons type thing.
Yeah, where it just didn't feel like it was even trying. It's just it's just that. Yeah, Dragon Quest reminds me of that. Dragon Quest versus a Persona. Where
a little bit.
Yeah, Persona, or even Final Fantasy. I'm not a huge Final Fantasy lover, but I could see why somebody would see a Final Fantasy and then see Dragon Quest and be like, I don't know. One deals with headier subject matter, or it feels like it does. Next up, Dev Guy says, what's a game you guys thought was ahead of its time, gameplay-wise, graphics-wise, etc.? See, I feel like this is just fucking recency bias, and every answer is going to be Red Dead or GTA, because those were moments in time where damn.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely were. I think a smaller one is Uncharted. I remember when Uncharted came out, that was whoa, this can be done in adventure games. And I know there's a lot of stuff that was derivative of other games
Tomb Raider.
I think even Prince of Persia, Warrior Within, there are elements from that, some of the climbing on walls and
that's fair.
Action bits, taken from other games, but the way they brought it together and with the graphics and stuff, that was definitely. Yeah, I think in general, those guys, Naughty Dog, they managed to make the game look like it's running on the next.
Yeah. Right? Like they got it,
On the next
like
box.
they somehow got a PlayStation 4 when they were on the
They got
PlayStation
the
3.
next one, yeah.
It's absolutely
They
a
got a
good
dev
point.
kit for.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, by the way, I felt this way at times when I was playing Sega Saturn, PS1, PS2, where I'd play the Sega Saturn version, I'd be like, oh, cool. But I'd play the PlayStation version, it was just easier to program and stuff. And I'd be like, God, it feels like it wasn't just that it was more powerful or easy. It was to an extent, but it was that time where exactly what you said. Like, did you guys, how the fuck, did you guys get like a
They got an extra slider in the game engine.
Yeah. It's like, what the hell? How's your detail level? One level. And the one level was pretty big. Back in the day, man, I remember getting new gens and just being, each gen was astonishing. It was like you had Sega Master System, you're like, oh, pretty cool. Genesis, wow. 32x less so. But then you'd be like, even Sega Saturn, and you was like, whoa, what the hell? And then PlayStation 1, 2, 3, Xbox original, Xbox 360 from Xbox was like, are you shitting me?
Yeah,
so
dude, the jumps early on in gens were insane.
So good.
Because you'd go like all the way back, you'd go like from black and white to color. That's already another universe. And then like 2.5D stuff.
Textures getting bump mapping. And you're playing like, you know,
sounds
Chronicles of Riddick.
From, yeah, sounds going from 8-bit to MIDI to like full on, you know.
With the sound, you'd be like, oh, this is killing my ears. Even back then, I do remember complaining about the sound in some games. Being like, the shot would be like, and you're like, man, I don't know. It doesn't sound. And then, you know, somebody did a true sample. Punching. Oh, God. Or swords. Shing, shing, shing. It just sounds like super high saccharine, really, really hard on the ears.
Yeah.
I would say for me, this is going to be weird, but for me, storytelling took a big jump with... I'm not a huge fan of this game, by the way. I like it. I love it. Yeah. But I'm not like, this is the greatest thing. But I would say BioShock 1. Like, the level of storytelling in BioShock 1 was... as a first-person game, it was easier to digest than I expected for a first-person game. And it was I remember just being like, whoa. Like, dang, well, Ken Levine knows this. I mean, that guy knows his shit.
Yeah, the ability to craft that setting where the story takes place was everything, because, you know, just the surrounding of the underwater stuff with the, you know, steampunk technology is just like the feel of the whole thing that was needed, you know, to like tell that story, it feels like.
And, you know, you were bringing up Uncharted. I think those games are awesome, but they get away, you know, here's a cutscene, third person, you got Nathan Drake looks a certain way, but then you have BioShock, which was more in the first. They did have some cutscenes. You see the, you know, the like little sisters and stuff, but and they did what they could with what they had. There's a level of excess that I like in Uncharted games, but it's also a level of excess. It's it's like the movie. It's a block, exactly. And then you get the game that's really close, but it knows it doesn't have it, and it you know, it puts makeup on, and you're like, you know, before the newscast, you know, you got newscaster doesn't put it on, and he looks a little rough, and then you got the dude next to him who's got, you know, had a makeup person. You're like, all right, you know, there's something about BioShock in particular that I don't even love it, but I was like, damn.
They had a lot of limitations. Like they couldn't do stuff like intricate, you know, one person grabbing another in like a precise way.
Right, in precise ways.
Interactions
and they figured
between
out
models
ways
and
around
stuff.
it, you know?
Yeah, and they managed to tell the story fully with just a, you know, pretty basic.
Reading some here, there's a good example, Deus Ex 1. I remember coming from like the Dooms and all that stuff, and then you play like a Deus Ex and you're like, holy shit, there's so much you can do in this game. That's a good example. Pawns and Dragon's Dogma are way ahead of their time. I firmly agree. I bet you someone has probably already posted, they suck. But I actually think the feeling of having a group of, dude, they're idiots, man. They're chads. They're not even chads, they're ads. They're barely a chad, right? But there's something about exploring at night with a pawn where you don't feel alone, even though you know you're alone. Oh man, that was...
Did you like
so
it
good.
More or less in a game like Final Fantasy 15, where instead of pawns, they're actually like your friends?
I love the boy band idea of Final Fantasy 15.
Boy band.
I love
That's
it.
great.
But they all have the very RPG-ish, this guy's your rough and tumble boy band dude. This guy's your boy band who knows fashion. This guy's the singer. This guy cooks. And pawns are like, da-da-da. You know, the pawn is barely able. I mean, they're like, I am a pawn. I will do what you want. But I was able to transfer. Dude, I still have pawns that I will always, they're mine.
Is it like you projected some type of personality into them? Like...
Yeah, and they're dumb, right? They're like, wolves fear fire. You're like, dude, I know they do. You've told me 1,000 times, but this guy comes through every time. Like, or with us, they'll pick you up, and you're like, dude, that the guy's my jam. But Final Fantasy obviously does a great job, but they force those stereotypes on you, and if you didn't jive with one, you were never gonna.
And I thought each character was very like one-dimensional. You know, they had the one.
Oh, right.
They had the one defining trait.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, okay, this guy cooks, right?
Yeah.
And has a toupee. Like, okay, this guy is buff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's stoic. Okay, well, this other one is boyish and likes taking pictures. And they each had the one or two things, and that was it. Very surface level. But you got to think the solution is probably better characters than
they are.
No personality.
They are. But the problem is, if I have a lot of people I know my friends like, but that as a character, as a person, I don't. So in pawns, I'm able to, it's just like...
you can like project.
Like you said, project and be like, dude. And the thing about the pawns, man, here's what I loved about the pawns. They're like what we were as kids, the McDonald's worker, the guy who's striving. You don't quite know if they're going to make it, man. That might just be where they are. The pawns are like, hey, I'll help you. And when they did, there's a sense of strange accomplishment I got when a pawn launched me into the air off his shield that never fucking ever got matched in Final Fantasy 15. Like, I mean, and they're like, dude, we're going to dance. I'm going to cook you a salmon. Salmon looks cool. We're going to hang out. Xenoblade Chronicles had the great dinner time party. That shit's great. Yeah. But if you don't like the fucking person doing the convo, it's like watching a podcast. If you don't like me, what the are you doing watching me? Right? Because I am a very specific thing. You are a very specific thing. Occasionally, there are podcasts that I've watched where a person is sort of just in the back. Jamie versus Joe Rogan. I actually like to hear Jamie talk more. You barely hear him. He doesn't have a lot of whatever, but sometimes you like that, and you project onto him. Wonder what Jamie's doing. That's what it was with pawns, man. I was like, and I remember...
It's almost like the negative space...
Yeah, go ahead.
...of it. It's like the negative space of... Because the pawn is not saying much outside of, combat and stuff like that. It generates this empty space. It's a little bit the feeling that I got in Dark Souls when I would summon, some random Joe to help me out, and you can't really communicate directly. You could. What do you guys think in
chat? Back us up here. Go ahead, continue.
You could do gestures, but that was about it. And in a way, the limitation of not being able to communicate directly, that negative space actually created a really cool interaction where every small thing that the other person would do to show some personality or something, that would almost be like accentuated. It would kind of be more meaningful, like, oh, this guy is, he's letting me get the last hit or whatever. I don't know.
No, I agree with you.
There's something to be said about the less is more type thing.
Not only that, dude, I think it proves the point that, you always hear that in the movies, oh, the silent guy in the corner, he's interesting. What Final Fantasy 15 proved is that occasionally when those supposedly interesting people talk, you're like, no, they're not. No, they're not. They're shallow. Like you said, they're one-dimensional. Yeah, they're one-dimensional and they're interesting in those 7 dialogue trees you get. But when they're done, it's like a fucking NPC in Skyrim. You get a normal NPC who's like, I like to chop wood, and then they have 4 or 5 things about the story, and that's it. With pawns, they're like, wolves are afraid of fire. You're like, yeah, I get it. You've said it 100 times. But then sometimes I would be playing, the guy's just trucking with me, and I'm like, wonder what that guy's thinking. Probably nothing, because he's a fucking idiot. But at the same time, I was like, dude, that guy's cool. But when you play Final Fantasy 15, as much as I love those guys, sometimes you're like, just like I'm sure people do with me, you're like, dude, I wish this fucking dude would shut up. I don't need to know why he likes bison. Like, I don't need to know more about his... Yeah, and if you liked him, you may love that. But if you don't, it's so cloying. It's all the time. You know?
No, I get that. It's almost refreshing. Like, not everybody needs a motivation.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, some people are NPCs, man. You don't need
everybody needs a backstory, dude.
Yeah,
I don't need a flashback from you.
Right,
like,
right. And let me tell you about my dad. And I'm like, dude, I don't need to know. Tell me if the harpy is going to kick my ass. That's what I need to know.
You know, in Lost, like how every character at some point gets a full episode flashback. It's like... We don't need that for everybody.
Oh, my God. And when you get the character Johnny that does have the flashback that you don't like, tell me. Johnny, the only reason you stuck to that is because you're hoping to see another character in the background because you hate that son of a bitch.
And the worst part of all, because I'm rewatching it now, is like in the beginning, you get the first flashback and you know immediately who the episode is going to be about. So the episode is, this is a John episode. Okay, I'm down. Yeah. Is this a Sun episode? Okay.
Yeah. And I love Sun, but I did.
She's all right, but
I mean, I'm
just not that much into the backstory. You know, like it just depends. Like you said, some characters you're gonna be more interested in than others.
We probably lost everybody, but I got to tell you, this is more interesting to me than anything other than the layoffs, and at least this is somewhat positive.
It's been so good because this comes from when you told me, like, dude, you should try rewatching shows you've already seen, right?
Oh yeah,
because
so
it's
good.
like it's a new layer or something. And I was kind of open to the idea, and then I saw in Disney Plus they were like Lost. You know, they started, they just put it up there. And I was like, dude, it's been like 14 years since I saw it.
Right. So it's a rewatch remake. It's a remake of rewatches.
I was like, I'm watching like a new show through a completely different lens. And it's super interesting to go through the whole thing. And it's fascinating how it's still a great show. Like, I'm still enjoying it. I would have thought that maybe, I would have, just
been past its time
liking
or something.
it, or maybe it's just aged. And the fact is, it's still a great show. It's kind of like Breaking Bad. If you like it, I think you kind of always will.
I just love the idea of all this because, dude, it's so weird that sometimes this just doesn't work, and you get that character and you're like, oh man, this isn't going to be for me. But when they're dude, actions speak louder than words, and I think that's why I like the pawns. Because they don't say much, but when that dude launched me, or I was on the back of a troll or an ogre or whatever, and they're like, he doesn't like females or whatever. And then one of the dudes fought right then. He like cast a spell or something, and I'm sure it wasn't timed, but my brain was like, motherfucker's standing up for his friend. Like he's like, hey, what are you doing? He had the because I had a female sorceress. I had a big, I can't remember the fighter, Mystic Knight, but I think he was just a generic fighter. But it was like the moment somebody said that, he attacked the guy, and I was like, yep. And I'm sure it wasn't real. It wasn't timed on purpose, but my brain was like, that's telling a story right there. That guy's fighting for his best friend, Sarah, and Sarah's been held down by the man.
It's almost
Kevin's here.
There's a nobility to them. They're just like following you. They got your back no matter what. Right?
They're a dog.
They're not going to be angry because you spoke badly to the librarian. Like fucking Sarah in Starfield. Like, because I spoke angrily to someone, she's like judging me. Like,
so
no,
that they're like a puppy, man. They're loyal, and
they're noble, loyal.
Buys a lot from me.
Yeah.
Somebody brought up Mass Effect. Do we feel the same way about Mass Effect? And Mass Effect is a good middle ground. Mass Effect is maybe even more detailed than some Final Fantasy characters, but Mass Effect's a good middle ground where some of the side characters that don't have the greatest stories I also like in Mass Effect. Listen to this. I like a character nobody likes in Mass Effect. I don't know of anybody who likes him. Zed, the mercenary. He's a DLC. He barely says anything. He's got a shit DLC. And yet, I'm like, dude, Zed gets it done. Like, I like Kasumi and I like all these competency porn, right? Zed's like, listen, don't call me like a friend trying to talk at night like two chatty. I don't give a shit if you're heartbroken. But if you're in deep shit and you're in prison and you pay me enough, I'll show up. And I'm like, all right, I can
you can respect that.
Yeah, I get that. Was there anybody in Mass Effect 1, 2, or 3 that like were your sort of like your go-tos?
Yeah, I mean, I like Garrus. You know, Garrus is kind of designed for you to like.
Yeah.
I like Jack because I thought it was kind of hard to read her.
That's interesting. Yeah.
You know, like where she was coming from. So I decided to like.
Did you take her?
You know,
did you? So she was hard to like too, right? Jack at first was
you
rough.
had to like. She would grow on you eventually.
Right.
It's kind of rough. Yeah, I decided to. I think she was the character I chose to like. You know, get intimate with. And I remember it being a strange experience. Like I never fully understood where she was coming from. I have no idea.
Who's on top? Yeah. Who's on top in this? Who's going to be on top in this section?
Sometimes she would be angry for unsuspected reasons. And it's like, wow. I mean, you know, women are already hard to read, but this one is like...
Dude,
you know,
so this is so interesting. You're the only person I know who likes... Well, I've seen it online, but I love
Jack,
that you... Yeah, because Jack was so... Here's the thing. I know people like it, but I'm not a big fan of what's her name in Baldur's Gate 3. Lizelle.
Shadow. Oh, no. Yeah,
right. Jack is a lot like her. And Jack...
Yeah, a little bit.
Also gets better. And I, as in a story, gets better. But Jack is so distasteful as a character, they purposely make her not any ideal you would expect. You know, bald, tattoos, not jacked, but sort of jacked. Got psionics that you can't trust, might have killed a bunch of people. Isn't nice. But
no.
I get why not you, but I get why some people would be like, dude, I want to break this down and see like where this like what is going on with this character. Are they distasteful?
Yeah, I was kind of interested in it. I think in Mass Effect the key what like works really well is that the characters you don't like, you don't need to hear a lot about. It's very easy for you to just not talk to particular characters. I mean, there's story stuff that will happen inevitably, but a lot of the time you kind of choose who you want to spend time with. That's what it felt like to me. You know, like I liked Garrus, I like Jack. I know I spent time with them, or I was curious at the very least with Jack in the beginning, and I spent more time with those people. Ashley had a nice ass, to be blunt. I spent more time with her. You know, no, sorry, not Ashley. The other one, Amanda.
The girl from Chuck, the actress from Chuck. Yeah, I know. Yeah, actress from Chuck.
Yeah, you know the one.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, Ashley
I liked
was
Ashley,
okay,
but I know a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, she had a prickly personality. But anyway, that's what I found with Mass Effect. You could kind of, you know, not ignore, but spend way less time with the people you didn't like. So it wasn't like in your face as much. Miranda, thank you.
Terrence, thank you.
There you go.
Dude, it's so funny. You're actually right. And not that that's surprising, but I'm saying you just said something that like I hadn't really thought of, which is that Mass Effect does a fairly good job, except for one character. I'm going to argue against myself here in a second. Mass Effect does a fairly good job treating it like a movie where there's the Expendables team and there's the couple that are expendable. You know, they're there, and if you don't interact with them or track them, it's not bad. I will say there is 2 problems with that. One, Garrus. I didn't like him. I found him to be designed by his very DNA to be a milquetoast. Nah. And I was like, whatever. I don't want this guy around. And he showed up like a fucking bad penny. In all the time. I couldn't get rid of that bitch.
Because they really want to make you
Yes. It was like you can taste their desire. But you are right that for the most part, if you don't engage with them, unless it's Garrus and Rex, I think Rex was pushed on you a little bit.
A little bit. And, if you didn't like Morden, you won't see him that much.
Yeah, but you're a heartless thug who has a cold storage shed where your heart is if you don't like Morden. Admittedly, I think Morden was written also for you. You know, he had the redemption arc, and it was like, I'm going to sing, but I get it. But I think he was quirky enough to be. He was also. I have a friend who is very hyperactive, and I'm high energy, and he makes me really tired. And he's a human generator. It's almost not realistic when I'm around him. Where I'm like, what the fuck? And Morden bothered him, which I think goes to show you how much Morden was that hyperactive, super fast talking, blah blah blah. I know I'm fast talking, but this guy was like next level. And I remember when he came over, I was like, hey, have you played Mass Effect? And he's like, yeah. I was like, hey, I thought he would like Morden. I don't know why. Because I thought like minds. Holy shit, dude. It took him 2 hours to get done bitching about Morden. And I was like, oh, I get it. Because he chose him, even though he didn't like him, he chose him because he was very useful as a character. But he hated that that almost reflection of him, like just too much. I like Morden. What about so we got Ashley, Gaiden. No one likes Gaiden.
Very milquetoast,
dude.
Yeah,
I couldn't kill that dude fast enough. Wow, I hated that guy. What about
what's the blue lady?
Liara. Liara. Yeah.
I felt a little bit pushed towards Liara because it kind of feels like the game is trying to make you romance her. So my natural thing was to look for other characters. But I thought she was all right. I always wanted to ask her, is your equipment the same?
Oh, as humans? You mean sexual?
The same anatomy, or do you have it in a different shape? Is it like a flower, or is it like a? I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here. This is why
we never not have nightmares about what you just said. Why would you ever say that?
Maybe it's
no. Oh, what the hell is wrong with you? Anyway,
I'm just saying. This is why we need AI in games, so we can ask the
so
good
we can
questions.
Ask him anything. Yeah, but your answer would be different than mine, which is even scarier. If she was like, no, it's shaped like a Lincoln log, you'd be like, what? And then you'd get a different one, sunflower. Somebody else would get a different one. I think she was pushed on you, dude, but also her innocence was too manufactured. Liara's and also Tiali's. Both of their innocence didn't reflect accurately in the story anymore. Now, admittedly, in the second, they tried to blossom that out, and they're more like, I've learned my lessons, but wow, man, never. I'm ruined.
Yeah,
never gonna forget that.
With a face like that and a head like that, just imagine.
Isn't Gaiden the same voice actor in KOTOR? Yeah, Gaiden is definitely the same in KOTOR. Desync says, I thought they did a weird mind meld thing to have hybrid babies. How else would they mate with Turians? Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Doesn't mean that there's not something going on.
True.
Right? You never quite know. Rex and Jack were the most fun to interact with. I think Rex was done really well in the brosif. Rex, by the way, every BioWare has a brosif. Every BioWare game. They've always had that. and they're more or less bothersome, but they're injected in there. Even Jade Empire, there's always somebody that, like, there's this resonance of the sporty, like, yo, dude, 1st and 10, let's get that touchdown. And I don't have an issue with that at all. But Rex, his storyline is so sad for the character that I think that worked for me. Where I was like, dude, they got did dirty in that entire like, oh my, and everybody had a part in it, and it's like, oh, it's for the betterment of this, and you're like, damn, no, that's some fucking
like, it was good because the guy could take it, like, you know, he's a really rough, you know, like, he'll take anything, but even for him, it was a pretty brutal.
And that was the only time.
Depends of like what happens, but
he like not broke mentally, but it was the only time where, I mean, he was always rage filled. I just spit my mint. He was always rage filled, but there was more to it in those particular scenes where, like, you know, he was angry about things. What about Dragon Age Inquisition? Do you remember that? Or do you remember the game?
I didn't finish that. I only played some percentage of that, so yeah, I don't remember it very well.
Stefan says, any other Thane fans? Thane was awesome. Primo character. Thane, by the way, Thane was the one who had the illness, and he was the ninja, and he talked with the aquatic, crackly voice. That guy was awesome.
What was the masked girl?
Tali.
Tali.
Yeah.
I think that was... I also romanced her, I think, in the first game, I want to say.
I don't know if I romanced anybody in the first 10 playthroughs of Mass Effect. I'm saying the
because you're not into the
it's
stuff.
Yeah, and BioWare, listen, BioWare can't write romance to save their fucking life. BBA, we're having sex. Fucking, we're saving the universe. Get out of here. But later I did do all of them, and I would say that they were all done in the very, I've never had sex, I'm going to write about it way. And I remember prior to having sex talking like that with my friends, or not knowing.
It's how you would imagine it. It's kind of like removed from...
Very, not comic bookish, but just very... characterized in a weird, it was just sort of dumb. And even when you get with like Miranda, or you get with Ashley, or any of the others, it was still done the same Flash Gordon way. It was just, they're just not good. They're not good at writing that. And by the way, I think games are hard to do romance, man. And an RPG in particular, because if I'm murdering people and then this character's like, you want to have sex? It's like,
let's bang.
You're pretty homicidal. Like yourself, like if you want to hang out with me and I just destroyed a planet, you know, you might want to think about it. But it's awesome.
I thought they did okay in The Witcher with Triss and Yen.
I think
you were kind of having
people
fun
agree
for the most part.
Yeah, that one was all. But here's the big problem. Unless I'm remembering it wrong, those started in 1 or 2. So the relationship is way different than, you know, meeting up with these new characters
in Mass Effect. It's like, hello, welcome to my crew, let's bang.
Welcome to my crew. You got some junk in your trunk. Let's bang. And you're like, what? By the way, you can do that right now on Tinder. I'm saving the universe, man. And when somebody's trying to do the dueling lines of narrative, it's important, America. You got to do America. World Police had a sex scene, admittedly, but you get like this really definitive line of importance, and then they're like, "Do you want to go dance?" And by the way, Shepard, worst dance animation ever. Man. But you go in there and you hit that, and you're like, blah, blah, blah. Grounded says, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Thought this was a gaming podcast. Well, let me inform you. We're talking about actual games in this gaming podcast. So technically, you just don't know what the shit we're talking about. Leave. What an idiot. I hate that stuff. Agreed with Karak. Romance in games makes me want to shoot myself. That's pretty harsh. I would say Uncharted 4 did a good job with the marriage between Nathan and his wife. That was well done.
Showing the day-to-day or like the more mundane interactions.
Yeah. Is there any others? What about Final Fantasy? Don't Don't. Stop. Johnny, wait for me to finish this. Are there any good ones? Genuinely well-written, mature, physical relationships in Final Fantasy? I'm not going to argue if you say there is, by the way, because I don't know. I don't track him as much.
I think it's all relative, and I think a lot of them work really well in the setting, and oftentimes the setting isn't that like dire or serious. Like, for example, Final Fantasy 16 is a very dire setting. Ooh, so there, there is a romance, but it's not very romantic, really. It's kind of like I don't know how to say. I wouldn't say it's like an amazing.
Or do you mean basic, like just not?
I think it made sense that they didn't make a giant deal out of it.
Okay,
because the framing of it, like kind of like what you're saying, the world is in danger. There's so many other bigger picture things happening that the focus should be on that. So I think it made sense there. In other Final Fantasies, there has been more room for having fun in the adventure. For example, Final Fantasy X, it was a pilgrimage. And even though there were dark and, bad moments, there was a lot of them having fun in the journey too. And I think there, it made a lot of sense for them to have a bit more of a
fun relationship or sexual fun
relationship thing. That made sense to me. So I think it just like a few of them fit really well with the narrative. I would say, 7 is a bit of a weird one because, so if you remember the remake, right, Cloud and Tifa, it's kind of like they're romancing, even though I don't think we see them kiss or anything directly in the game itself.
Right.
At least not, so far. But I don't get the picture of why she likes him. I never have. That's one thing. Because Cloud is always, if you remember, he's like not interested. Whatever she's about to tell him, he's like not interested, right? Now, I know her backstory because I read some shit. So I kind of get it. Like they met as kids, and since then she was attached to him. But he was never nice to her in a way. I mean, it's almost like a Stockholm syndrome thing.
Right.
Like
I totally get where you're going.
She kind of got, attached to him since an early age. And that's it. That's the main reason why she's still. So that one, it's a bit weird, in my opinion.
I do know that they're written for adolescents. Obviously, they skew. Even Final Fantasy VII, they deal with some harsh shit, but they're written from the hero who's young, pretending he's older to be in the game, in the story. And by the way, as a kid, you never are taught that. I can't tell you how many times I would play a game and be like, why does this feel so discordant? And then you realize it's written for a 10-year-old pretending he's 15 to be savior of the universe when an alien race kills everybody. There's 3 huge maturity gaps that are trying to be contained into one to tell a story that sells to a kid who can ask his mom and dad for some money. So I do get that they don't always, it's difficult to do. But I think for me, Final Fantasy VII does prove that, it's going to sound, I don't even know no other way to say it, but, you need to be sort of a dick and sort of aloof to get a girl. And you need to be the war-torn guy who looks back over his shoulder when he walks away. That's how you date somebody. And you're like, dude, I don't know. It's very 90210. Very, very teen drama where I don't think they need to be. But, I'm probably wrong. If they wrote something more mature, it probably wouldn't work. It probably wouldn't sell to people. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's weird, especially in the remake, because they made the characters look very adult. So I mean, Tifa is like, I mean, you know, it's full.
I'll tell you what.
It's blossomed. It's
Tifa is a 14-year-old going on 27 out of Miami. Like,
Dude.
damn, Tifa's seen some shit. Like, you see Tifa
It's
and
like-
you're all, whoa, you're drinking a lot of milk or something. Something's going
It's
on.
like when they get actors to play a
Oh, yeah.
high schooler, like, you know, Smallville,
Yep.
Tom Welling. The
Luke
dude is
Perry
like 30.
in 90210 was like
Yeah, there
almost
you go.
40 when he was doing it.
Yeah, and it's like you're fooling no one. But anyway, it's just, it is a bit dissonant because their personalities are still like teenage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But their appearance is basically full adult.
Owen, $15 super chat. Thank you very much. Siet13 said, would you guys play War Thunder due to the news? Tanker, who said he learned the weak spots in War Thunder? Oh, I don't follow War Thunder much. I do like it, actually. I've enjoyed it, but yeah, it's let's see. I wonder how people are asking how old Tifa's really supposed to be. Is she supposed to be 14?
No, I think she's between 16 and 18 in those events. Tifa.
I love it.
She's age 20,
Oh, okay.
apparently.
Mm-hmm. She is 20
Just, doing
with her
a quick
mom's
search.
MasterCard, who went to Miami to get some plastic surgery and then come back. Because damn.
Damn.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, I'm okay with it, by the way. I joke about it, but it's like, you know, she obviously, there's
Yeah,
a certain...
it's obviously exaggerated, you know.
Yeah. Other than that, before we wrap it up, let's go here and look, verify I haven't skipped anything. Can we talk about the Inquisition start menu being
But
awesome?
I wanted to ask you real quick, why are you rewatching Lost? What caused you to?
Come on. Just me. I finished Eureka in like 3 days, man. I just rewatched it like 60th time. Dude, I rewatch shit so often. And Game
man.
Dev and I were joking because I got my splitter working again yesterday, where it takes all the HDMIs, puts it on one screen. And I was watching 2 shows. My wife came in and she's like, dude, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm watching 2 shows. She's like, nah. And then Game Dev said, something about watching 3 shows. And I was like, challenge accepted. I probably would try. But I do like rewatching shows. There is I love spoilers in movies as well because I like to see how they got there. Surprise, instead of I know people love the surprise of the end. I get an awesome feeling of figuring out how they got to that surprise. I don't know how to describe it. So I love rewatching shows. I just rewatched it. I think I'm in season 5 of Lost.
Oh, nice.
And then I just finished Eureka, and I'm going to do Battlestar. I'm going to wait a little bit on Battlestar because I just rewatched Battlestar a couple months ago. But,
I'm finishing season 3 of Lost, and
finishing season 3.
It's been magical, man.
It is.
Rewatching it.
That's
it's
the
so
thing
nice.
too, Johnny. You're seeing these characters, and then you know what you know. But if you've waited, there's some things you'll forget. And so then you see that episode and it reminds you, and you get this awesome sense of, this is going to sound really weird, and there's a term for it, being reminded again of a thing you already knew a second time. It's not just the first time.
Yeah.
There's an actual term for that. And I love that feeling. There's this feeling of like, I forgot that I've been reminded already once. And I love it. I love it.
And they
Lost
have
is
this
great.
thing where if they showed you something, if they zoomed into something at one point, high chance that down the line there's going to be an episode dedicated to the backstory of that thing.
It's like Fringe.
It's like,
there's a watcher in every
episode. The backstory of this statue that we showed. Like,
and I love
It's
looking
really
in the
cool.
background and going, holy shit, there's Jin and Sun in the background of this thing. And Fringe, when I found out there was a watcher in every episode, I became like so
it's not
excited.
every episode, is it?
It's every episode.
No way.
Yeah, that's what they've stated. And so I have become enamored with rewatching that and going, there it is. And, you'll find like a bald head going through and maybe sometimes they've even missed it. It hasn't been that, but I love it. From is the other one Jez is talking about. From is
From
like
is
Lost,
good.
but with ghosts and spirits. And they're awesome, man. I love that. Yeah, I love it. That's why I like playing games, BioWare games I used to play a ton. not as much anymore. But I love that kind of stuff. I know we have friends who played Final Fantasy multiple times. Yeah. There's something fun about it. You know, that's beyond the survival cycle or beyond another game or shooter. Something about the story, making those choices again. As we wrap it up, is there anything else?
I think that's it.
I think that is it. Right? I want to say thanks to everybody. I apologize. My voice is starting. This is the second day where my voice has started to die out. I think this is going to last a little longer than I was hoping. Thank you to Johnny, as always. What are you going to stream on your
I don't know yet because I finished Nier Automata that I was playing, so I have to decide. We'll see. There is a chance we will play Infinite Wealth. There's also a chance we'll do Cyberpunk Liberty City, the DLC, which I haven't done yet, and I have it ready to like just slide into it.
Whoa! You haven't done that one. I was unaware. I thought you had done that.
No, I started replaying the story to the point where like you can access it more or less.
And then everybody else, if you become a YouTube member, you can join the Discord. It's an awesome place, man. We talk about games, talk about life, talk about COVID, unfortunately. There's a link to the Patreon. We also got some new merch, whatever. Oh, please rate the podcast. It really does help. Again, even if you just hate it. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe it's worse if you hate it and rate it. But whatever. Hate it and rate it. Love it and rate it. Whichever. That'll be it for us. You'll see us next week, God willing. I don't die or we don't get another power outage. Do you have anything to add before we wrap this sucker up, Johnny? First of all, I do want to say thank you very much. Said this about Absy on the Wednesday podcast. You guys are, dude, you legitimately, it's been incredible knowing you. And the idea that when I first knew you, we couldn't communicate well. And we had not issues. I want to make sure it's not clear. There. We had some friction because I talk fast and you were trying to understand slow. And, the ability to get you on the podcast has been a huge boon to me, like huge, massive.
Likewise, man. It's been
fucking hilarious to have you on here and hear your shit and your stories and be like, what the fuck? And then you also say a bunch of really cool, smart shit. So you guys elevate me, and I want to say how much I appreciate that every time.
Cheers, man. It goes both ways. Not like that, but like
we're docking.
The dock.
Fuck. Okay. Anyway, that'll be it for us. Peace out, everybody.